Hello and welcome to another episode of the Uncommon Energy Podcast. On this week's episode, we'll be talking about another tournament, another IC, another set of registration issues. That's right. The Latin America International Championships had its fair share of registration issues. We'll talk about our thoughts on it and what things look like are going to be happening moving forward. The Peoria, Illinois Regional Championships get absolutely flooded by Kyogre, winning its second regional championships in a row here in North America. We'll cover the results from that 1,700 person tournament on this episode. We will, of course, have Guess That Flavor Text, everyone's favorite segment of the show. And if you say it's not your favorite segment, you're just lying to yourself. We know it. You know it. Just be honest. Just be honest with yourself. And then we'll close out this week's episode by chatting about a bunch of new Paradox Rift cards that were revealed. This is looking to be a pretty dang good set, Azul, if you ask me. My name is Chip Ritchie, joined here, as always, by my friend and co-host, Azul GG. What's up, Azul? How we doing, buddy? How was your travel back from good old Peoria?
It was pretty good, doing pretty good. Peoria was okay. I didn't have a great tournament run. I did drop, which I'm not like very bothered by or anything like that. But I mean, Peoria, it's awkward to get to, not a great location, and then also there's just nothing there. It's such a
Everything
small town.
closes on the
I know
weekend, like
everything is just
specifically. It's
closed. Yeah.
makes no sense. Yeah.
Yeah, everything's just closed all the time. So yeah, Peoria, location wise, I mean the tournament was ran really well. I'll say that for
Yeah.
sure. Like both tournaments so far here in North America have been both ran very well so far. Pittsburgh into Peoria, both were ran very, very well. Yeah, Peoria as a location, not too fond of, still not very fond of. And I almost missed my flight actually. I almost got back today. Instead, I got back really late Monday instead. But yeah, I almost missed my flight because my connection was, or my initial flight was delayed, so I almost missed my connection. But
Hmm.
thankfully, did not do that. So I was able to get back Monday instead. But yeah, it was fine. Travel back was fine. Besides that, so I was a little bit panicked, but I don't know. I guess it would have maybe spending the night in Dallas would have been the end of the world. So we figured it out. But yeah, back home now and prepping already for the next regional coming up this week in Sacramento. So getting ready to drive to Sacramento on Friday. By you, Chip?
Yeah.
How was casting over in Peoria?
It was good. Yeah, it was overall good. Solid tournament, really fun matches. We got to feature a good variety of decks on stream. We didn't see a Lugia on the stream until day 2, which was kind of surprising because it was like the second most popular deck, but at the top tables it was just like non-existent. So really our only
Yeah.
opportunity to have streamed it would have been in like round 9, probably maybe round 8, but just didn't work out. And then we got it on later because there was kind of a story we were trying to show there of like this new colorless build becoming popular, right? But
Yeah.
yeah, overall good stream, solid weekend, good tournament. We were out of there by like 8:30 and there was a lunch break as well, which is pretty
Yeah.
impressive. It makes you wonder, like, if there was no lunch break, how quick they'd get us out of there. 7:30, 8 o'clock, something like that.
Yeah. I think we could still do the lunch break was like fine. And I guess like if day two wants to keep doing the lunch breaks, it's whatever. But basically, it feels like no one else is doing lunch breaks. Actually, I'm curious, like, if anyone in the comment section, let us know. Over in Europe, did they do lunch break for Barcelona? Also, Curitiba was there a lunch break over in Curitiba? If anyone who's listening went to those, wants to leave us a comment, let us know how those went. If you guys got lunch breaks over there, I think they could do away with it. I actually kind of been preferring that, like the just getting through the day faster with no lunch break has been preferable in my opinion. But they did a good job even with the lunch break. So like, if they're gonna keep it around, at least it's like still flowing well, you know.
Yeah, and speaking of other tournaments in other parts of the world, Latin America internationals are just around the corner. Just what, 6 weeks away? Not even a month away? Is it a month away? It's pretty crazy.
Beginning of the
Like
17th.
5 weeks, yeah.
Yeah, 5 weeks.
So pretty close, pretty soon around the corner, and registration just went live today. So a little late, I would say, on the registration for people who are trying
Yeah.
to plan and sort out their international travel, international hotels. But it's the
Especially with
start
the,
of the season. It just kind of feels like always at the start of the season, we just kind of almost need to expect them to be delayed with these type of things, getting them off the ground for each of the first tournaments of the year.
yeah, it doesn't even feel like there's, like, that huge break, like, after NAIC, and then sometimes, like, a break after Worlds. It feels like there shouldn't be a need for, like, registration delays. And, like, this one, like, specifically, uh, pretty predictably and was or and did pretty predictable that it was going to sell out. Is what I'm trying to say. Like so, like
Yeah,
it
yeah.
like people like I'm sure there's a decent amount of like North American, European players who didn't book their travel yet because of the potential of not being able to go. But 6 weeks out is still decent though for like, if you're still looking at flights or something like that. You might have like passed up on opportunity for like a cheaper flight, cheaper hotel, whatever it might have been, something more reasonable because you're probably waiting. Because I think pretty predictably, and it did happen that it did sell out pretty fast. I think that's pretty was a pretty easy guess. I think all the ICs this year will sell out pretty fast, to be honest.
Yeah, and they released registration in 2 waves. One of them was first thing in the morning, 9 AM, Eastern Time, 6 AM for Azul, which, Azul
Yeah.
did not get up for because he got in so late last night, forgot to set his alarm, and
Yeah, I, like,
so as
remembered while I
Mhm.
was flying, I was like, "Oh, when I get home, I just gotta set my alarm," but I literally, like, got home and then just, like, went to bed and, like, forgot to. But it sounds
Oops.
like I kinda lucked out on not having to go through that process because Arcanine was trying out, like, a new system, it sounded like, for I don't even know, for registering players, and basically the whole process of the initial wave of registration lasted about an hour,
Yeah.
but you basically had to just be sitting there clicking submit over and over again until it let you in?
That's what it sounds like the experience was for most people. It almost felt like they were sporadically releasing the allotted spots over the course of an hour, and it was just
It
kinda
was
like, keep checking over the course of an hour and see if you get one, just kinda
yeah.
randomly. That's really what it felt like.
According to Arcanine's tweets, it sounds like it was an error. It was not supposed to happen that way, unless I'm
Yes.
mistaken. I read them earlier.
Yeah, so they did put out a statement kind of in regards to some of the backlash. I mean, plenty of people were saying stuff on Twitter. Alex Shemansky here, obviously very prominent North American player, said, "If I were a newer player in LATAM, I would 100% be quitting this game after this registration experience. We're coming up on 30 minutes of spam submit early in the workday. At some point, people are going to have to stop trying to register or the risk real repercussions from their employers. Being able to say, well, it didn't cap in 30 seconds is not worth this awful experience." And then ultimately tweeted, "It has taken over an hour for 896 players to register, with countless more still stuck on the devices spamming submit. If you have a job that you can't do this for, I guess it's just over for you. First come, first serve fixes this problem." And then Arcanine did put out the statement saying, "Hi, all. We apologize for the site's behavior this morning during LAIC registration. We need to analyze further, but at a glance, we can see huge demand for a bit of a limited supply due to 2 waves. It took a while to sort through the traffic congestion. There are still spots available for Masters in TCG, VG, and Go. If you haven't gotten a spot yet, please try submitting your request again." So they tweeted this like about an
During the
hour after
process.
registration went live.
Yeah. So I guess actually,
And
if I just open up a little bit later, or if I had woken up like an hour later, I still could have maybe got in on the first wave.
right, right. But it was still like an hour later was still 7 AM for you. Like,
Yeah, yeah. I woke up at 8, so
and then they did post an update, said TCG Masters initial allocation has sold out for its first wave. And then there were still some spots for VG and Go. And TCG, as usual, was the most in demand and most constrained. We'll share more of our analysis ASAP.
yeah. So all that happened, and then going into wave 2, they did change the process to a more first come first serve process. So whatever they had planned to use is did they actually try and do something different, or did something just kind of bug out? They did plan to do something different, right? Because I feel like I
I
saw a
think it
tweet
must I
somewhere.
think it's a combination, right? They were doing something different and the site was
Yeah,
just
yeah, there
under
was
massive
definitely a
demand. Yeah.
well, yeah, I wasn't sure if something bugged out and they never planned to do anything different, but I'm pretty sure I saw a tweet somewhere of them saying we were trying to do something different, but it didn't work as intended. Um, that's what I understood, at least. But uh, for the second wave, it was definitely kind of like more first come first serve process, which I think is definitely favorable or preferred to whatever the first wave was. Whatever, no one knows what that is, but whatever that was, I think everyone prefers the first come first serve situation.
So first
And
come first serve's not like totally rolled out, but they did say at the end of this tweet that they are expecting this is before the second wave. They tweeted, "We expect the second wave to go smoother, but in the big picture, we have been working behind the scenes to prepare for first come, first serve. We will launch that as soon as we can."
Okay, so they
So,
did change it from the whatever they did in the first wave is it was different in the second wave, right? Um,
yeah, well, I think they just said they expect it to go smoother, and it's probably just because a lot less people were registering, right?
oh,
1,000 people were able to register, so less people were trying to get into the site.
okay, that might have been it. Yeah. Either
Um,
way, it definitely went
Not sure
smoother.
100% though, obviously.
Yeah, it went smoother. I got in on the second wave.
Yeah,
Um,
and, actually, I guess I haven't even really said this yet, but, I got in on the first wave because I'm actually planning to go to LAIC as a player, which I'm excited about. I got to go last year as a caster. I'm gonna actually go and play this year, and luckily for me, I just got super lucky, I guess, because I got on my computer at 8:58, sat down, went to the website, and then as soon as it said 9 o'clock, I clicked refresh. I scrolled down, clicked the boxes, clicked submit. I got the little try again later, and then scrolled
or try
down,
again.
clicked submit again, and got through. So I only had to try one extra time, and then I didn't have to worry about it at all. So I got super lucky. Really glad I didn't have to sit there and refresh for an hour. I wouldn't have been able to sit there and refresh for an hour, but I'm glad that it just kind of worked out for me there.
Yeah, yeah. So I guess the other thing to talk about besides that, and I think this is something where it's there's nothing really to be mad at. Like a problem was identified. Arcanine tried to fix the problem, or seemingly did fix the problem. Like mistakes are going to happen, mess ups are going to happen. You know, things out of people's control are going to happen. That's what happened here. And then for wave two, it was fixed, right? Or for the most part, it seemed to be fixed, right? So,
Yeah, it's
um,
just I think people are frustrated because it's a month-ish before the event. People have
yeah,
booked their travel plans and stuff already, and it's just like they just want to know. And that's kind of the big thing about first come first serve that I've seen from most people is if it was first come first serve, I would know and like it would suck that it sold out in 30 seconds, but I would know. And then I could deal with it and move on. I wouldn't have to sit there and refresh for an hour to try to fight for it.
yeah, yeah, definitely. Man, I completely lost my train of thought now. I was like,
Sorry.
I was
I didn't
gonna,
mean to
I
like
was
jump
no, no,
in
I
there.
was on something. Yeah, yeah. So like, I think this is like something where it's like, it sucks, but like, the situation got remedied. You can't be. There's nothing to be too mad at here because the Pokemon community, when something's not perfect, they love the pitchforks. Are like everyone is like ready. You know what I'm saying? Everyone wakes up every single morning in the Pokemon community. They sharpen their pitchforks just in case
That's
something
step one.
happens.
You
Yeah,
don't?
step one: wake up, sharpen pitchfork, get on Twitter, wait, and then and then repeat. So yeah, I don't think there's anything to get mad about as far as that goes. Yeah, it was remedied pretty fast. The one thing we could discuss though was the cap. 1467 is the current number of TCG players registered for
So the
LAIC. We could
final
say,
number is probably like 1,500 cap or something like that, and there's
yeah,
probably just still a couple junior, senior spots is
floaters.
what I would
Yeah.
guess.
So if we say there's 200 juniors and seniors, probably, right? We can say that, right? 200 juniors and seniors. That means there's 1,260
It might be
masters.
more. I don't know, man. It might be more.
Let's say there's, all right, let's just make it, let's
I would
take off
think
the top half. Let's
1,200
say,
masters. 1,200
okay,
masters.
1,200 masters. Last year at LAIC, there was 976 players at the tournament. So there's probably 1,100 ish, maybe even not even, maybe like
Yeah,
1050.
at least a
Um,
thousand for
yeah,
sure.
at least 1,000 cap last year at LAIC. So they only increased it roughly by 20%. Now, 20% is a lot, like generally, right? It's a pretty big increase for most things in life. But for Pokemon tournaments, it definitely seems like we're pushing for increases of from last year to this year of like close to 50% in a lot of areas, right? So, but is 20% like year over year? Would a 20% increase year over year be enough? It seems like it would. Would it be that bad?
I
Like,
mean,
how mad can we actually be that it capped at 1,200 this year when it was 1,000 last year? Like when you put it in terms of percentages, I think it's a little bit easier to be like, okay, maybe we're not too far off the growth rate of what they should expect from us, right?
yeah, so I mean, if we
Um,
just look at the past of this
and we can
tournament,
yeah,
the very first one was 626, the next one 596, so right about the same.
yeah,
630 for the next one, right about the same there. And then 2019, 726. That's a pretty sizable increase. 2022, obviously the first one right after COVID,
50-50.
976. So
Mhm.
I mean, just comparing tournament to tournament, it's a pretty steady increase overall.
Yeah,
I don't think 20% is necessarily unreasonable, but I think in this spot, like they should still have expected. if that's all we can do is 20%, it is still going to be the same issue. It's still going to sell out right away.
Yeah.
And it is in the same venue as it was last year, and it was pretty cramped in that venue last year, don't you think?
Do we have the whole thing as well? It felt like we
That
did.
I see, I don't know all of that
Yeah.
stuff. I
It
do
felt like we
know
had the whole
at the
venue,
venue,
but
though, they had some pretty sick,
the
like,
food?
street food
Oh,
vendors
yeah. They were good.
inside the venue, and I'm super excited to go back for that because that was awesome.
Yeah. And before
And it
people
was
get do
still cheap. It was like nothing. It was like
yeah,
$3.
instead of the $20 hot dog over at,
Yeah, in
any
friggin'
North American
Peoria.
restaurant. Um, and before, like, and all before anyone, like, says anything about it, because people always bring up they should, like, literally, like, nuke all of this side stuff in the venue and just put more tables for players, like, that's not that shouldn't be the goal either. We should try and make these. There should be trying to be more things for people to do when they show up to these tournaments as spectators or people who just like show up, to go, whatever 3-3 drop or whatever 3-4 drop, and then just go do some other stuff. Right, the arts and crafts stuffs for the kids. Food vendors you should exist there like that, especially on that kind of level. It's so nice to have that kind of stuff in the venue like they did at LAIC. That is like a good point. Like that was actually super sick to have that many different food options in the venue, like right there in the venue. So, we should want these Pokemon tournaments to be bigger and more than just sitting down and playing a match, right? We should
Mhm.
want the stages with the stream and then all the other little things around the venue for people to do. Make it a little bit more than just a tournament. I think is like only helps grow the game. And
Do you want
also,
the stream, though? Because playing on the stream is just a massive competitive disadvantage.
I wouldn't say it's a massive. It definitely is a disadvantage. Like I do agree
Sure,
with the
sure.
who made the tweet again.
It was Liam.
Yeah, Liam. I think Liam's correct. It is a disadvantage to play on stream,
Pull it
except
up.
when you play against someone who's gonna maybe be more uncomfortable than you would be playing on stream. And in that case, it's actually an advantage. So I guess actually Liam's. It's not always a disadvantage. It's only a disadvantage until it's more of a disadvantage for your opponent. But I don't know. Some people just like being on stream. We even see Rowan replying to Liam like, "I love what did Rowan say? I love being on. I love being on stream." Um, my parents are always following the Arcanine pairings from home, so being able to have them watch me play is a great feeling and something I strive for every tournament. Yeah, so I think it's a little bit overall. It is a competitive disadvantage. Everyone knows your deck, your tech cards, or at least that information is now out there, whereas otherwise it wouldn't have been. You are playing in a less comfortable environment, but for some people that doesn't really matter as much. It sounds like Rowan is one of those players where like playing on stream is the same thing as sitting down and playing against your opponent at any other table, right? But then you have situations like me against Cameron,
Mhm, at
where
OCIC.
yeah, where Cameron was thrown off by it. They did make Cameron play left-handed or right-handed. I don't know if Cameron's left-handed. Whatever. Cameron
They
wasn't
made
playing
him play with his
comfortably.
offhand, yeah,
Yeah, with
which
his
is not
offhand, and
correct,
then
shouldn't have
was
been done. It
yeah,
was a
and then was
mistake,
drawing was
yeah.
drawing cards off the deck instead of the prize cards, right? So like, there's like situations like that where it's definitely like someone gets thrown off, but that was like obviously like a little bit more extreme of a scenario. But yeah, I think it's for the most part neutral, but like theoretically overall, it is like a disadvantage to play on stream, I guess, but like not like a big deal one way or the other. But yeah, we want Pokemon tournaments to be bigger and more than just the competition because that theoretically just grows and makes the game bigger and better. So doing stuff like getting rid of the arts and crafts or putting TCG and VGC in separate venues on separate days, making them separate tournaments is just stupid, to be honest. Like the amount of times I've heard that suggestion is way too many times that I can't even comprehend. So, um, yeah, I mean, yeah, 20% increase. 20 is a big number. 20% is a big number. So I don't know. It doesn't seem like it's just hard. It's hard because on their end, they don't want to get a huge venue or more venue space than they're going to need and be they're still trying to run a business at the end of the day with these events. So I don't know, 20% is like a big number when you put it in a percentage instead of just saying 200 more players and then we have 400 more who would like to play. So it's kind of tough to say overall, but it did sell out really fast. So I think the thing where we can start to be annoyed and be like, okay, there's a problem here is if next year they don't give us another 200 players at least, right? Maybe 300. I think
Yeah.
that's the thing we have to look for is like where they stop, where when we are selling out tournaments instantly and they aren't giving us more spots the following year, right? But so far they have been giving us plus 200 the last four LAICs.
TPCI did just open up an office in Mexico City, I think, so, no, not all the way down in Brazil, but
Oh,
they
really?
are seeming to support the Latin America region more as far as, like,
Interesting.
being more direct, having people in an office down there that can, are more part of the culture and know what's going
LAIC,
on, right, and stuff like that.
LAIC in Mexico City. It's been they might have
That would
that
be
maybe
interesting
even
too.
we
But
haven't
that's
had
see, I don't think that's gonna happen because, Mexico is under the no, what am I saying?
It's
Mexico
not,
is
yeah.
not under the North America it's under the Latin America region,
Yeah.
sorry, yeah, I'm
We haven't
tripping,
had
I'm
Mexico
tripping.
City regionals in years. It used to be it used to be a
Mhm.
constant, but they got rid of it a while ago, and they haven't brought it back. I mean, it would make sense for them to bring it back if they have a literal office in Mexico City, so, I would almost be surprised if they didn't actually do an LAIC in Mexico City then at some point if they have literally an office right there.
Yeah, that's true.
Maybe not next year's one, but maybe the year after or something like that. Kinda makes
Yeah, it would make
sense.
sense, yeah.
Yeah, LAIC already capped out. If you were planning on going, they might. I mean, they could. Did they do another wave for NAIC last year? They might do. There's always a possibility of another wave. Like
Yeah, I think it
so,
was
and
tiny though, but
more.
yeah, I think they did. Yeah,
Yeah, and
yeah, they
more.
definitely did
Yeah, they
because I
did.
remember,
Yeah,
like, Mike Fouché didn't get in the first 3 waves, and then he got in wave 4.
yeah, and they might open like some spots might get opened up again, and so still be on the lookout for some potential spots to open. They're always trying to fit as many people as they
Yeah.
possibly can.
They
So
want
keep that
you
in
to
mind.
play in the tournament.
Yes, they want as many people as they can possibly get, but they have to make a judgment call on how many people do we think we can actually get to show up versus how much space are we going to get. They can't just like even Will Post put out a good tweet on that actually. Or actually, if you want to bring up Will, I think Will's post tweet is
I'll look
perfect
for it.
actually. Yeah, I
He
think it's
tweets
actually
a
a
lot,
perfect
so it
tweet.
becomes hard to find his tweets.
It should it should be like the newest tweet,
I
one of the newest ones. Right, the one that's quoting the tweet that gets quoted there.
okay.
Um, yeah,
Can someone out there please try booking a convention center on the premise of, I'm not sure how many people, I'll tell you a few months out. Just hold all the space you have just in case, okay? And let me know how it goes.
yeah, that's like perfect. Like they are booking these venues months in advance, and they are not trying to like lose I would say maybe no money, too much money on overbooking the space, right? They're trying to
Yeah.
fill, like I said, us capping tournaments, even though it feels bad, is a good thing. Where ideally just don't want them to cap in like 30 seconds. That did happen for LAIC, but yeah, they're booking these venues way out in advance. They're trying to make a guesstimate on how many players do they think they can get to show up to their tournament. And us filling out the, like I said, us capping these tournaments is a good thing because it's showing the game's going to grow. And then we just need the organizers to respond by giving us more space. And they have been, if you're not in Europe. So,
Yeah. At yeah, rip. Peoria was actually kind of interesting too this weekend because we were there last year, and I don't know if you really remember it last year, but the section of the hall that most of the masters played in and where the vendors were was completely shut off last year. So they just opened up a huge section of the hall that wasn't
yeah.
open last year, and it was pretty. I mean, when there's going to be 3,000 people at a tournament, you expect it to be somewhat cramped, right? Like there's just kind of no avoiding it when you're cramming that many people into a convention center. But for how many people were there, it didn't feel like it was overly crowded, I would say.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Another thing I'll actually say to that, just to put it out there, like if the day two events, they do this thing called like a home base thing where like they have this little section where they have like
Oh yeah, did you
tables.
guys do that?
Yeah, me and my squad did that. Where you can basically buy a
Sorry, I cut you
table.
off, but finish explaining what the
Yeah.
home base thing is.
The
I'm
home base
sorry.
thing is basically there's a bunch of tables that you can buy for the weekend basically to have like a home base, a home base where you can go um as your table you can consistently go back to in day 1 and day 2 throughout the
It's
whole
like a
event.
reserved spot for you,
Yeah,
right?
and it costs $100 for the table, so and you get 8, wristbands, so you can have 8 people at your table, and it's like $100, so it's like $12 a person. I think, like, I did that for the first time. Apparently, they've had them before. I only heard about them for this tournament. I didn't notice that they had it in previous tournaments, but, I mean, that was sick. I'm definitely gonna do that every day 2 event personally, so, I mean, if there's any other, organizers out there who have those kind of things out there, I'm personally would always be paying for something like that. I would, like honestly, I would if VIP seating has gotten pretty expensive, so I'm not buying VIP seating, but if it was a little bit cheaper, then I would be down to do VIP every time. It's really nice to just have like just to know where you're going every single time. You don't have to like weed through the tables every single time. So like having like I said, like the home base thing, just having knowing where you're going, where you and your squad are going to meet up at the end of every single round is worth it in my opinion. So that's definitely something that I'll be looking to do at all the future day 2 events personally. And if other organizers start doing that kind of stuff, I mean, I'll be doing it there too because I thought that was like a really good, definitely worth the price tag for sure. That's for sure. I think it's definitely worth the price tag.
Well, speaking of your experience in Peoria, Illinois, let's take a look at the results from the Pokemon tournament that happened this past weekend in Peoria. Let's start off actually by looking at the meta share and kind of talking about that. If it was similar to what we thought it was going to be, different, or any of that. So here's what the day one meta share looked like. We had 15% of the field on Charizard EX. I think that is, I would call it a little higher than I expected, but I wouldn't say it's surprising. What do you think?
I think it's a little surprising. I was predicting 10. Maybe I should have predicted a little bit higher. It was so much on the ladder. I feel like that's a pretty good indicator of it when a deck is gonna like be in excess to what you expect, and it's usually you can only kind of get a read on that for like the most popular deck. But like Lost Tina was the same way before Pittsburgh, um, and like before Barcelona. Like Lost Tina was the most popular deck on the PTCG Live ladder, and Charizard was by far the most popular deck on the PTCG Live ladder before Peoria. So that probably should have given enough of a tell where I could have probably predicted, okay, it'll probably be like my thought process is 10, but if like sometimes decks are just more popular and that can be like that could be the indicator. Cause like in online tournaments and stuff, I have been kind of like waning a little bit in popularity. I felt like leading up to Peoria, but like still on the ladder, everyone was grinding it. And yeah, 15%. So a little bit more than I thought it would be. But like not like a huge shock, I would say for sure. Yeah. It wasn't
And then
like
the
Lugia Worlds or something. That I was shocked by. Day one of
yeah.
Lugia Worlds shocked me.
And then next up was Lugia at 13%, which isn't a super big surprise, a little higher again than I think we thought. We thought that it was just going to be a lot of like 10% decks, like
Yeah.
which there kind of is, right? I mean, there's just
It's a
a
little bit
lot
higher
that
than
are just a
12,
little
yeah.
over, right? But yeah, so Lugia at 13%, and the numbers 224 of the people in the tournament were playing Lugia. 183 of them were playing the colorless variant, and 73 were playing the single strike variant. That's a stat we shared on the stream. So about
Wait, what?
70% of the Lugia players were on the colorless version of the
Wait,
deck.
do those numbers again?
70% colorless and
No, no, no.
30% single strike.
183
Colorless,
and
73 single strike.
all in 224 decks.
Yeah. That doesn't add up, does it?
Nope.
Those are the numbers they gave us.
Dude, some people are out there dual wielding colors and single. They're switching it up in between rounds.
That does not
Like,
add up. I
yeah, it
had
doesn't
didn't
add
even
up.
process that. That's the numbers they gave us though, behind the scenes.
There's
Dude,
a
that
there's a
adds up to
stat. There's a number missing.
256. So
Yeah, there's a number
some of the
missing.
decks just got counted twice somehow in their whatever system they used
Yeah.
to check it.
I mean, 70% is about that makes sense to me. Like
That's
colorless
about
is
what it probably is still what it was.
yeah, like colorless being the more popular by like a solid amount made sense. I was actually surprised there was as much single strike. Well, yeah, colors being the more played one. I thought it'd be more though, I guess is what I should say. I thought it'd be like 80 plus percent. So
Yeah, I mean,
there
I
was more
think what
single
you're
strike
not
than I thought,
accounting
but
for is
there's people
like
who are just like stuck on their single strike.
yeah, yeah, definitely. If someone has decided for the last 2 months that they're playing this deck to this tournament, and then now this new version of the deck comes out and everyone's talking about it, playing it instead of the one you've been practicing, testing, and that you know the best, like it's hard for people to change, stick with what you know. And generally, I think
It is a
depending on
better
where you are as a player, that's the correct thing to do, right? Is to
unless it's
just stick with what you're most comfortable with.
yeah, unless like the meta becomes horrendous for you. Like then you should adjust because like your
Your day's just
expected
going to be bad.
yeah,
Yeah.
even if you play poorly or even if you play not as well with a deck, your expected outcome is still going to be greater than if you play the deck you know the best. But single strike wasn't terrible. Like I'm sure most people had the Cobalion in there or some kind of tech card for the Charizard matchup, right? So yeah, playing single strike Lugia was still a good deck. So that wasn't like a
Yeah,
bad
dude.
call.
The senior that I coach, he's been playing single strike Lugia, played it at Worlds, played it most of last year, played it in AIC and all that stuff. And so he's gonna play it, just stick with it for this tournament because he hasn't played a lot since Worlds because they started
Hmm.
school back and stuff. So he's just gonna stick with it. And I was like, listen, man, you gotta play the Cobalion. We just need to have a chance against Charizard. Let's put this in your list. And I found out the day after the tournament, he cut it from his list.
Oh no.
He just was like, "I'm not gonna play it," and then he still got 10th. He got top 16. It was
All
his
right, not
first
bad.
regional as a senior too, so that was pretty cool.
All right, all right.
But yeah, he was like, "Yeah, I didn't play against any Charizard." I was like, "Okay, well, that makes sense. It was a good you made a good decision cutting the
Then he made the
Cobalion.
right call. It was like,
You
yeah.
got never punished for cutting the
Yeah, that is
Cobalion."
definitely the never punished scenario. But I mean, I wonder how yeah, it's dude, seniors and juniors is just so weird compared to masters. It's like so much harder to I mean, maybe if you're in it as a senior and junior, you can have a little bit better of a read on where things are going, but it's really hard, even as someone who coaches juniors and seniors, because I'm not in it. Like, I can't
Yeah,
apply how I would analyze a meta. I can't analyze the meta. I can't be them and analyze the meta for them. So they don't still know how to like input the information that they see into being like, okay, where is this going? So even then, it's even though when I talk to the juniors and seniors I coach, it's still hard to kind of predict where things are headed. But usually, the thing that is like more so relevant for juniors and seniors than even in the masters division is just playing a deck you're well is going to have a
Yes.
higher impact even than it will in Masters. So, another deck that I wasn't like, well, Lugia was expecting to be about 12%. Charizard a little bit more popular than I thought, and Miraidon's definitely more popular than I thought it was going to be at the 12%, especially with all the Charizard hype going around.
Yep.
Now, all the Miraidons did adjust, or most of them did. Most of them had the path to the peak, right, to give
Yep.
yourself a decent time, maybe even a solid time. Maybe it's close to like 50-50 against Charizard once you get the path.
Judge
Path
Path is
Judge,
pretty good against
so good at,
Charizard.
yeah, it's definitely super strong. But yeah, 12%. And it did well too, right? 12%, but also two in the top eight, Jesse and JW with the Miraidon. Jesse's back-to-back top eights. JW, two-time regional champion.
Yes.
One, yeah, two-time regional. I'm
Two
pretty sure.
time. Yep. Put
Two-time.
some respect on his name.
Coming away with the top four as well. So the Miraidon, yeah, still kicking, still out there, still killing it. But yeah, nothing too crazy as far
Let's
as like let's go. Besides like the path switch up.
Yeah, I was
What are you
trying to
looking at?
check the
Path versus
they added
non-path?
this new thing on Pokestats Live where you can see the matchups of a deck, but for some reason Charizard is not listed here as the
Oh,
matchup, like what the win rate was at a tournament or like in the meta or whatever. But
what if
there's
it
no
did what if
Charizard listed
what if
here for
Miraidon played
Miraidon.
against Charizard 0 times in the whole tournament? It
Yeah,
seems it seems impossible,
I
but
don't think that happened. Let's
technically
see. I'll
possible.
see if I
Well,
can click around and find it.
we
If
could
I
at
click
least
on
check
Charizard
like
here.
JW and Jesse specifically.
Yeah, I will if I don't see it. Oh yeah, tournament data on the way. So it's just like I think this
Oh,
is a
okay.
thing in progress is kind of the issue there. But yeah, so let's look at JW Kreewall. Looks like he played against one Charizard and beat
Mhm.
it. He has one unknown on his record, so he played against one.
Unknown's not a very
And
good deck right now, so makes sense.
and then Jesse played against one
On
in round
Charizard.
one and also beat it.
Yeah, and those are like like not to like specifically call out those players, but usually your early rounds are going to be a little bit easier. The later you go into a
Yeah,
tournament,
yeah,
the
yeah.
harder your rounds get theoretically. Of course, you could hit toward round one, but it's way more likely you hit Joe Schmo round one, right? So
Yeah.
there's definitely going to
So
be a big difference in the quality of players. So
this Charizard player, Austin Daniels, got 10th, and he was playing Charizard, and he went 4
201,
or 3-3-3-0-1 against
yeah,
Miraidon. Yeah.
yeah. So
Drew played against
one.
1, yeah, and beat it.
It's looking good for Charizard out here, but of
Yeah.
course you don't need to be able to beat everything, right? I mean, losing to the 15%. But to be honest, though, like Charizard was 15%, but no top eights. There was three in top 16, so it wasn't like far off the mark from
No.
like a successful tournament run. But I think being the most popular deck, having a decent conversion rate too, 19% of day two was Charizard's. No top eights. That's definitely probably below average for how popular it was, right? Like below average the amount of top eights a deck would have for being that popular would be my
Yeah.
guess.
Yeah, I think so. I will say I think all 3 of these Charizard players were players who, like, won into top
To top
16,
16.
and they weren't, like, players who lost out of top 8, right?
Yeah, not even top eight contenders. And towards the end of the day, yeah,
Right.
that makes it
But
even
tha
worse
I
for
mean, that's
Charizard.
not, like, to put a blemish on their record or anything like that. I mean, they still
Nope.
made top 16, right?
Literally couldn't even top 8. What are they even doing here? Why'd they show up to the
Well
tournament? No chance. Lost
and
Box
then
in there at its classic 10%, right? I feel like
well,
Lost
you
Box has
skip whoa,
almost
whoa, whoa,
taken.
whoa, 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 you
Well,
skipped over Gardevoir, the deck you
I mean,
played.
yeah, Gardevoir 10%. Like, I was
Okay, and
gonna,
then Lost
we were
Box,
gonna,
about where you'd expect, what we're used to seeing, 10%
yeah,
Lost Box.
10%. Yeah, I feel like Lost Box has become the new Mew in the 10% zone because Mew, rightfully so, with the Charizard hype, fell off the map, right? Like completely gone, which I think is rightfully. But some people went out of their way, tried to make Mew work against Charizard as best they could, and the Grabber Mew list was born, right? So it wasn't here in the top 6 in day one. Was it? What about day two? Mew did not break the chart for day two, right?
No, I'll pull up the day 2 chart.
But there was but not too. Yeah, Lugia took the big hit here. But generally, so like to kind of talk about like day two percentages. Generally, you expect like the top 6 from day one to just go up in percentage into day two because you get rid of all like the riffraff, the I don't know whatever meme deck the players brought. People who aren't trying to make day two, they're just showing up with their meme deck. None of those are making day two. So generally, you expect like pretty much every deck in the top 6 to increase a little bit or be about the same percentage going from day one to day two, right? And
Mhm.
then you might see a deck jump up out of nowhere and come in at that sixth, fifth spot. Like I don't know, we're missing Mew here. So if Mew jumped up to the sixth spot all of a sudden going into day two, that wouldn't be a big surprise. But if we go from day one to day two, bring up to day two, we see Charizard gains a percent, Guardy Lost Box gain a percent. Miraidon does go down 1%, but basically the same. Chien
Basically
Pao
the
plus
same.
2%. But Lugia looks like it wasn't a great play for the tournament because it took a huge hit, losing 4% from day one to day two. Right? Like that kind of shows that probably Lugia was not a great play for the tournament. So where do you think that like Lugia's downfall was it? I mean, everyone says that Miraidon's super favored against Lugia. I've never felt that in my testing. It feels to me closer to like a 50-50, but I'm under tested in the matchup for sure. Colorless Lugia for me, I always felt fine against Charizard, but maybe that's another thing that I'm a little bit under tested in. And those two matchups, to me, like looking at the what happened in the tournament, it seems like those two matchups I'm probably just wrong on.
Colorless Lugia, I think, feels better for Miraidon than Single Strike Lugia does, for sure. Because Single Strike Lugia has a couple of ways to like throw a wrench at you. Obviously, Tyranitar is really difficult for the Miraidon deck to KO. If they don't like, they have to play the Zapdos. If they don't play the Zapdos, you're just never KOing a Tyranitar, right?
Well, you
And they
got
also have
Raichu, but it eats up a
Stone
lot of
Journey. Well,
energy.
yeah, but that's so much more work, right? I should.
It
You're right
is.
though. I shouldn't say never though. I shouldn't say never.
Yeah.
It definitely is a difference, but it's like you have to expend so much more to get that knockout.
Mhm.
Um, and then you have Stonejourner as well. So I think that Single Strike Lugia actually does fine against Miraidon, but Colorless Lugia probably a bit less so. I mean, you do have Snorlax, but it's not really even your
Well, it
prize
depends what
trade
you
is still
bench.
overall even
The Squawk
because
comes down.
yeah,
You get
you're
like a
you're benching more liabilities as well, right?
the one thing would be like the Radiant Charizard. I feel like it does what Stone Journey does just later in the
But not
game.
everyone plays it.
And that's probably one of the issues. Is like that's one of the things if you're going to be using Colorless Lugia moving forward, you should. I think the Radiant Zard should just be in there. I think Radiant Zard should be in the deck. Like you can play 3 Snorlax, but I think Radiant Zard should be in there over the third Snorlax because it's effectively just another Snorlax for
Sure.
1 energy. So it allows you to be more aggressive with your Weird Ear in the late game and stuff like that.
Why not
Um,
both?
why not both? Also, Miraidon's going to Path, right? I feel like Miraidon with Path has a better matchup against Lugia than
That's
without
true
Path, right?
too.
So the
Yeah.
Murata matchup, whether it's now slightly favored with Path from a 50-50 or whatever it might be, it definitely does gain percentage points when that Paths get added to the Miraidon deck for sure. You're a little bit less aggressive in general, so some matchups you're going to wish you didn't have the Path at the peak. Some of the other matchups is a little bit less relevant, but against Lugia, I think you are gaining some percentage points there. Just judge Path, right? Hit him with it in this matchup
Yeah.
as well.
And then Chien Pao went way up in meta share percentage from where it was at in Pittsburgh. In Pittsburgh, it was like
Yeah,
4.5%, almost doubling up to 8% here in Peoria. And it had a solid day two conversion rate as well. It goes from 8 to 10%.
and
Not
yeah,
like massive changes by any
it's like
means, but
expected.
it
Like expect
didn't.
the 2% increase. Like Lost Box had a
Yeah, yeah,
2%
yeah.
increase. Champ, like
Yeah.
that's like an expected if you're in the top 6 decks usually. You're
Yes,
expected to increase a
definitely.
little bit.
And I think a big part of this, so there's kind of two things here. One, Chien Pao is probably one of the few decks one of two meta decks in the format that just has like a strictly favorable Charizard matchup.
You destroy it's embarrassing for Charizard. Like, it's
So
so
a
bad.
strictly favorable Charizard matchup. Charizard was kind of the big hyped up deck coming into
Mhm.
this event, and then also a lot of really good players decided to play Chien Pao as well.
Yeah, a lot of really good players decided to play it. And I mean, I've, like, kind of used that as, like, a reason for why a deck would be popular, but I guess that speaks to if a lot of really good players wanna play it and think it's good, then there's gonna be that many other players who think it's good as well, right? But,
Hmm.
like, it's a little I'm not gonna go around and pay attention to what everyone's playing. I am taking note of what the better players are playing, though, right? So when I saw that, Bradner was playing it and Grant Shen was playing it, I was like, "Okay, okay, people are showing up with the Chien Pao." So, like, I'm gonna take note of those players rolling up with the Chien Pao, but if they're rolling up with the Chien Pao, there's also all the other players that I'm not taking note of who are also gonna be rolling up with it, right? Yeah, I think it's just a really cool deck. It's really fun. Like I played a lot with Baxcalibur in general before the tournament, and I don't think it's that good of a deck. Like I still not a deck that I think I would want to bring to a tournament. But, like it getting a top 8 to me is no surprise, especially if Grant Shen's piloting it, right? And it's just like the deck's just like super cool and fun to be honest. And it's like it's good. It's a good deck. Like so, yeah. It's like maybe it just kind of was. Um, I think probably people would always call so people always call it like a high roll deck or an inconsistent deck, which are two things that aren't relevant when picking a deck. The only thing that matters is the deck's win rate. Saying high roll and stuff is basically irrelevant. Uh, you should just, the only thing you're concerned with is the deck's potential win rate into a meta. And I think as it's been kind of being put out there as just like a good deck and less of a inconsistent high roll deck, I think that's what has maybe caused more people to try and pick it up and try it. Is like the stigma around the deck has kind of been removed more and more as the meta progresses, which is maybe leading to more people wanting to pick it up and try it out and play it. And also, it's kind of been established as there's one way to play the deck, and it's probably the best way to play the deck. So it makes it easier to kind of pick up, right? That turbo build that Grand Chen played.
Yeah, you've also got, Kiernan's been out there, like, really pushing the deck and, like,
Yeah.
put out, like, a manifesto about why Chien-Pao is broken as well on YouTube.
Yeah.
So, I mean, the Chien-Pao propaganda was definitely real leading up to this event. Um
This is good propaganda. This isn't
Yeah,
the
sure, sure,
cross-switcher
sure.
lost Tina. Henry Brand was pushing some fishies up, but this is good propaganda. This is what you want to see the masses getting into because the deck is just super cool, super fun. It's like a really, really good deck for sure. So, um, yeah, you love to see like a deck like this getting more popular for sure, definitely.
Was there anything that stood out to you in day 2 that we haven't talked about yet? I know you've looked at pretty much everything. Um, Anything that was surprising to you as far as decks not finishing as expected or maybe
Well,
unique card inclusions in someone's list that you wouldn't have expected?
not that I can think of. I haven't looked at a ton of non-top 8 lists, but I guess like the lack of Lost Tina we could talk about, right? Not even in the top 6 most popular decks. Now, I predicted this to my group personally, and they told me, no, Azul, Lost Tina's still going to be 10% at least. I predicted less than 8%, or less than 10%, I should say,
It
around
was, I
8%.
will say, and we said this on the broadcast too, it was like 7.9%.
Okay. About where I
So
predicted it to be. Okay.
right
Just like,
under Chien Pao.
yeah. Now, I didn't predict Charizard to be 15%, but I was still,
Yeah, yeah.
we were all
So
afraid
you
of
take
Charizard.
one small win, you take a couple big L's, we'll see where we end up.
But yeah, Lost Cena kind of fell off. I mean, I think that a big reason has to be the hype behind Colorless Lugia. I think Colorless Lugia was the most hyped deck going into the tournament. I think a lot of people were just set on playing Charizard, and that's why it was so popular. But I think Colorless Lugia was by far the most hyped up deck going into the tournament, and
Yeah.
it destroyed. Like I thought it was good until I forgot about all the other little things that Colorless Lugia can do against team. Like they can't start Requiem with Snorlax, which kind of sucks. You have to lost impact every single Snorlax. Mew can come in out of nowhere and copy Greninja for 2 Comfy KOs, or copy Tina and just knock it out and copy Lost Impact. Like the matchup is embarrassingly bad for for Lost Tina. So I
Yeah.
think even the Temple of Sinnoh doesn't fix it either. Like the Temple of Sinnoh is really good against Single Strike Lugia in Lost Tina, but it doesn't fix the colorless matchup at all. So I think that's the main reason Lost Tina probably dropped off more. Also, it wasn't really performing overly well in tournaments. It did get second at Curitiba, but there was like sometimes one in top 8, but then it was like lacking in the rest of day 2 finishes. And also, I think people are just kind of getting the deck is like not very fun to play. It's good, but it takes a lot to play well. Like it's almost like a lost box. It's like a lost box in that. It is a lost zone deck, right? You have to play really well to get a good result from it.
Mhm.
And I think it's just probably exhausting a lot of people up to this point. And it's like a lot of people ended up putting it down because of that. Also, it's not as fun as Lost Box because you can do so many different things with Lost Box and make Lost Box your own. Lost Tina is like you kind of have to do these things, and it's not very fun to do those things. So I think just people are kind of burnt out and kind of putting it down because it wasn't very enjoyable play experience.
So we did make some predictions before the tournament. We can go through now and see who was right, who was wrong. We did try to predict what deck would win. I predicted Gardevoir. You predicted Colorless Lugia. Now, I think Colorless Lugia was definitely more hyped up coming into the event, and it did end up being more popular in day. Well, not Colorless Lugia, I guess specifically wasn't more popular necessarily in day one.
Lugia was.
Yeah. But there was no Colorless Lugia in top 8. There was, however, one Gardevoir in top 8. So
I mean, it didn't win though. Like I feel like we gotta get. You have to win
I
to
was
get it right.
closer.
You
I
were
was closer.
closer, but you gotta like. We're trying to like hit it on the mark. You know what I'm
Okay, sure, whatever.
saying?
Highest placing Charizard. I said top 8, you said top 16. You definitely get the edge here.
It wasn't
0
Radiant
in top
Charizard.
8, and then there was 3 in top 16. So honestly, if we're doing points or something, 3 points to House
What? No,
Blue
that's
over
not how that
there.
works. Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. True, true, true. Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, that is how that works. Actually, I take it back. um,
And
yeah. And the last one we did was, will there be a non-NA? Actually, should have said Canada or US. No, NA is fine, I guess. Well, no, not non-Canada or US player in top 8. Chip said yes. I said no, and there was Brent Tonneson coming in uh with the Gardevoir and getting into a 7th place. Who did Brent actually lose to in top 8? I
Brent
actually
lost
don't
to
know.
Raymond, I think.
Okay. Yeah,
I'll double
so
check
top 8 with
opponent
Gardevoir.
lists or the
Brent's been playing
Pokestats.
Brent's been playing Gardevoir for like forever. And
Yeah, Brent's actually
ran
had a
up
pretty
again.
sick run of tournaments. I saw someone he like tweeted about his Metafy or something like that. And his last 3 tournaments, he's gone top 32 at Worlds, or sorry, top 32 at NAIC, 10th at Worlds, 7th at Peoria. That's a pretty
Yeah,
sick run.
yeah, it's not bad. I'm sure Brent's looking for that. Has Brent actually? No, that's not. That is true. Brent has won a major tournament before. I see with that regional Sydney first place. I was like wondering, has Brent won a major? I
Mhm.
was about to say Brent might be the best player to have not won a major tournament. It's possible.
Lost
Um,
Ray, baby.
Lost Ray. Yeah.
Sorry,
But we
Brent
get
did lose to Jack Carter.
okay. So still a lost zone deck. Still lost box.
Jack
They were
actually had
close.
cards in his deck that were pretty good in the Gardevoir matchup. He had Clara, Palpad, and Echoing Horn, all cards that are like pretty good against Gardevoir.
Did he have the Roxanne as well or no? No
He did
Roxanne.
not have the Roxanne. He had no
Yeah.
disruption.
Yeah. So yes, decent. Decent. All
Jack
those
beat
decent against Gardevoir.
uh, Jack beat Grant Manley in day two. I know.
Yeah. I guess like the other list we can talk about real fast here and just take a look at was Rowan's. I don't think we pulled up Rowan's list up yet, which is a really cool
Yeah.
Mew build. Like I said, most people wrote off Mew as dead because of the Charizard matchup, but Rowan went out of the way to test the matchup with some unique cards, and they ended up being good enough to run Mew at the tournament despite Charizard's hype, which means they're probably at least getting Rowan to like a 50-50 in the matchup because I don't know why you would play a deck that doesn't. And it's basically like a handlock Mew, DTE handlock Mew. Got the Luxray V in there. For anyone who doesn't know what that does, for two colorless energy, it does 30 damage. You look at your opponent's hand and you discard a trainer card. So you combo that with Judge, Path, Fang Snipe. You could not just shut down Charizard, but you can shut
Uh,
down a lot of decks with that
Judge
combo.
Path, Fang Snipe, Grabber as well. Don't
Yeah.
forget.
Yeah. And then if you want to, you can also throw the Grabber in there as well, which is a new card from 151. Look at your opponent's hand, take a Pokemon you find there, and put it on the bottom of their deck. So you basically just try and just limit their hand as much as possible. And this is like enough because like we've already been talking about Judge Path being really good against Charizard. But you get a Grabber involved, and sure, it's just like any Pokemon they have, and the Pokemon they have might not be relevant. But one less Pidgey on their bench could be the difference between them, getting to a Pidgeot later or not, right?
Dude,
And
Grabbers are
then
like a buck 50 on TCG Player. That's kind of crazy.
stonks, the Grabber
I mean, for
stonks.
an uncommon card that's like not
It's true.
that good, like it's good in a very specific deck, right? You just wouldn't expect it.
Well, it's because of there's no booster boxes of 151,
Yeah,
so
yeah,
the
yeah.
so
That
the
definitely
cards are
adds
harder
to
to
it.
get. Yeah. Um. So yeah, instead of just giving up on Mew, Rowan was like, "All right, what can I do to beat Charizard?" And it was enough, for Rowan to get up to the top four,
Hmm.
eventually losing to I want to say Raymond, but actually I
Yes.
don't know. Yeah.
Yeah. Lost to
Um.
Raymond,
But
which is a
besides
pretty
that, pretty
abysmal matchup.
yeah. Even with the does have the penny, which can help, but
Yeah.
really isn't
It's
enough
kind
to
of
make
just
the character
cope,
matchup
though.
good. Yeah,
I have
I
to
feel like the
imagine the penny was in here for like,
pick up the Luxray.
yeah,
It
yeah.
does. It might
Or
do enough
like,
against Lost Box if they don't have the Drapion, which I think is probably was like something like Rowan was probably reading into a little bit as well. Like less Spiritomb and Drapion would probably be showing up
he
for
does
this
also
tournament.
only have 2 escape ropes, so it also could just be in here as like a recyclable way to get out of Mawile or something like that too.
I mean, yeah, I guess.
Yeah, there's just like,
I don't know if
it's
anyone's
like
gonna
a
be
fine card.
the player playing Mawile would have to be desperate to Mawile a Mew player. They would
Yeah.
have to
Well,
be
no,
like
or you
beyond
just check their
desperate.
resources and they're down ropes, like because they had to use them to set up or
True.
something.
All right, it's possible. I'm not fully disagreeing with you. Um,
And
yeah, but
then
besides that, pretty vanilla. Besides the grabber combo stuff, everything else in there is pretty normal.
pretty interesting though, Rowan, when he won Hartford with Fusion Mew, it was at a time where nobody was playing Fusion Mew. Everyone's playing DTE Mew.
Yeah,
And then he gets top 4 here playing DTE Mew at a time when most people are playing Fusion Mew, which is, but I guess for this tournament,
yeah.
a pretty high amount of people did switch over to the DTE. Colin Merley Matthews, who got top 8 or top 4 in Pittsburgh. Yeah, it was top 4. He
Top
switched over
16
to
here.
it. He had 3 Grabber in his list, and then Tyler Ashlock also played the DTE Mew. This
Grabbers.
one did not have the Grabber, it looks
So
like.
just yeah, just judge path and pray.
Justified gloves,
And
though.
of course, the justified gloves. Got to have those.
Oh, man, that's wild. Has the
Dude,
Silene, so I guess the plan against Zard is just, like, one shot at least one of them.
yeah, you have to get lucky on the Silene to get a double KO. That'd be a lot of tablets. Did
Yeah.
Nami Keshikir, did Matthew play the Luxray as well, or was it just Rowan then
Matthew
between
did
these
not
three?
play the Luxray.
Okay, so just the grabber, no Luxray. I feel like the Luxray is you may as well have the Luxray if you're like this much in on this combo. May as well get Luxray involved as well. And this
Pretty
only like matters
similar
when you go
list,
second,
honestly. This
but
looks like one card different, honestly, from Rowan's list. One or two. It's probably a couple cards, but
yeah, the Lost City 4th
Yeah.
vacuum, -1 grabber, -1 lost city, plus a vacuum, plus a Luxray.
Has the heavy
Basically
ball
it.
as well. Or Rowan has the heavy ball because he has Luxray, I assume.
Yeah, they maybe cooked a little bit together for sure is possible.
I mean, I don't think that's true. I mean, maybe, I don't know.
Why not? Can't just 2 players who enjoy Mew, like, hit each other up and be like,
A
"Listen, you
pair
wanna
of
talk
Mew
Mew?"
connoisseurs.
Yeah, can't a pair
We
of Mew connoisseurs get
we did
together and
this
discuss Mew?
thing on the stream where every time someone got brought up to the stage, they asked them a fun fact about themselves. What is like something they would want to share with the stream for the commentators to say or something like that? And Colin's fun fact was that he only plays Mew. And if you click on his Limitless page, he has only played Mew. It's honestly kind of a hilarious page.
Does it
Literally.
how does this compare to Fabrizio's page? Because Fabrizio, player from Latin America,
Yeah, yeah.
uh, also only
Not
tainted
only
with Lost Box,
yeah,
yeah.
come on now.
You gotta give it to Colin on this one, to be honest.
Fabrizio betrayed Mew at NAIC
Yeah,
and at
but
Worlds.
realized their fault and, in Curitiba went back to the Mew.
um, but yeah, that
Colin is a
is
Mew purist,
oh,
though.
I guess one thing we should spend a little bit of time talking about Raymond's list. We mentioned
Yeah,
it that Kyogre won, but yeah, we should definitely talk about the winning list overall because it's
really
definitely
different.
pretty different from Estrada's list. So, I mean, it's two North American regionals in a row that Kyogre has won the event. A Canadian player playing Kyogre has won the event as well, by the way.
Yeah.
Yeah, this one is pretty different. It's got the Pidgeot V instead of the normal Dragonite and Raikou that we're used to seeing. It's got the Zamazenta and some metal energies in there. Azul, what do you think?
It's a more of a one prize focused build. Still values the 4 Seal Stones really highly, though, so it still includes the Pidgeot. Yeah, you're never leaving it in play, but, it's there to hold 4 Seal Stone and give yourself more outs to the Colress. Most of the time, that's what you're looking for off it, or just whatever you need to set up. But yeah, one more of a one prize focused build. You just need like a heavy hitter alongside the Kyogre. Like the other option that we've seen in the past has been like a Snorlax, is sometimes included, stuff like that.
Mhm.
But you just need a little bit more to be able to get those initial prize cards to be able to close out games with Kyogre. So that's why the 2 prize Pokemon are nice, because you have more things to hold the Force Seal Stone. They're also attackers for certain matchups. And it gives you a little bit more flexibility in your matchups as well to have the Raikou, to have the Dragonite, because you can just have something big yourself, right? Whereas when you don't have those, you're kind of just limited to these, shrimps who get KO'd by literally anything. So, but it means you're only giving up the one prize card, right? And yeah, the heavy you definitely need some kind of heavy hitter. So the Zamazenta makes sense. The Snorlax beating here would have made sense as well, but Zamazenta hits a little bit harder. It does
Right.
kind of, I don't know, pollute your energy though. Like now you have to play metal energies, whereas
It
like
puts a
you could just
strain on
run.
your resources for sure because you have to
Yeah,
Mirage Gate to it as well.
the
Sometimes you have
attachment
to
for
play an
turn.
extra rod or a recycler to just get the energies back to attack with it if you want to
Hmm.
attack with it more than once.
Yeah, but yeah, I think it's cool. I mean, it's good. Like Lost Box. That's what I was saying about Lost Box. Like, there's just so many ways to play Lost Box, which is like one of the ways that it's way more intriguing and enjoyable to play than something like compared to like why people are still playing Lost Box but not Lost Tina. It's like Lost Tina is just kind of not as fun to play because you're like kind of forced to play Lost Tina and you can't do weird stuff like, well, now we go from like, yeah, a 2 prize Kyogre build, just won Pittsburgh. Now we're at a 1 prize Kyogre build, win in Peoria. Is Kyogre just kind of broken? Maybe. Maybe Kyogre is just like, it doesn't matter what you run with it. If you got the ogre, you're good to go. So definitely, I mean, it's the most powerful attack in the game that we have right now. So
Yeah. 500
definitely
damage
interesting
in
build.
play in one turn is pretty good. Well,
I
let's
think one more list we should maybe mention is the Sablezard, because Sablezard also
yeah, sure, sure,
maybe the
sure.
biggest surprise in top 8 besides Raymond's list was the Sablezard that showed up. Sablezard is not a deck that I've like completely written off personally before this event, but I just have not put any time into it. So when anyone asks me about Sablezard, I'm always like, I mean, it could be okay, but it seems like it's worse than just like Mirage Gate builds of Lost Box, but I haven't really played with it at all. So maybe it's better than I'm giving it credit for. And it did show up. And yeah, Terrence made top 8 with uh nothing super unique, to be honest. We've seen kind of all these techs before. Besides the Ditto. The Ditto's like the big thing, I think. But the Articuno we've seen from like Pedro. Pedro's a huge fan of the Articuno to allow your Cram to hit for 120 to KO Cresselia. The Spiritomb is in here as not just your Mew counter, but it's also good against Lugia decks to hopefully slow them down through their Luminions. They're very Luminion
Mhm.
reliant. So you get a little bit of a combo counter there, a little good against Lugia, which is a pretty tough matchup with unless you're able to like cheese them a little bit with the Spiritomb. It also gives you some help against Mew, which is a terrible matchup if you don't have any kind of counter. But the Ditto, I guess, like stands out as like the number one. Everything else besides that, we've seen this all before, right? But the thing that stands out, I guess, like the Ditto, trying to get that the theoretical third or fifth Comfy in the deck, a new card from 151 is like the big thing that's different here.
Yeah, and there's actually some kind of discussion around Ditto happening in the community too about like, is it worth playing this card? And I think it's a cool card. I don't know that it's necessarily worth playing, but it is kind of like playing a 59 card deck because on turn one, you can just search it out with Nest Ball or VIP Pass, put it into play. Even if you don't start it, obviously, if you start
Yeah.
it, it's a fifth comfy, so it does increase your chances to start a comfy technically.
If you
But
price
if you
for
don't
comfy.
start it, you can still just pull it out of the deck, switch it to the active, and then immediately go get the other comfy out of the deck. So you just thin your deck by one card right away.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it would only hurt. I don't know if Chip heard me. It would only hurt if you prize for comfy, and then in that case, there is a percentage where it's not a fifth comfy. You probably just concede though, so it's fine.
Fair. Fair.
Yeah, I don't know if it's worth the trade off. I think opening comfy is a little bit more important in this than like a turbo lost box, though. I would
Mhm.
say. And yeah, you're not really you are theoretically playing with like a 59 card deck though. Like if you don't open the Ditto, you're like playing with a 59 card deck. Is it worth it? Generally in Pokemon, like I think a lot of Pokemon decks
No,
would
no,
play
even if
more
you open it,
than
you're playing with a fifth. Why is it any different?
I don't know if you don't oh, wait, am I like yeah, yeah, no matter what you're playing with a 59 card deck.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
you're right. And then if you prize it, as you get it off your prize card, it's just a dead card, right?
Sure.
Yeah, I don't know where I thought I was going with that one to be honest. But yeah, generally in Pokemon, decks would play more than 50 cards if they could, or more than 60 cards if they could, right? So, yeah, the question is but it's a pretty big it's like an 8% increase, I think, to have the Ditto in there. So that's like a pretty big that's pretty relevant. You want to open Comfy, right? And I said like I feel like it feels like it's a little bit more relevant in the Sable Zard
Yeah, you
because
wanna get to 10, like, ASAP.
you don't have that many big attacking options. You have Sableye and Radiant Charizard, and that's it. But you look at
Yeah.
something like the Kyogre build, you got the Zamazenta, you got the Kyogre, you got the Sableye, you got more big attacking builds. You even go to like the two prize build, and there's even more options for big attacking things to like swing
And
the tempo into your favor again.
it does give you, like, a little flexibility too, like, I could definitely imagine there being a world where you look at your opening hand and you, like, have everything you need to Cramorant turn 1, so you just play those pieces out and then get Ditto active and then go get your Cramorant, right? Like, so it has, like, a little bit more
Yeah.
flexibility.
Yeah. It could yeah, it's I guess it's like another out to cram as well. On the end of the turn.
Yeah. So yeah,
It's
let's
interesting.
with all this information here from Peoria, we do have another regionals this weekend. So it's like there ain't no rest for you ever heard there's ain't no rest for the wicked? There ain't no rest for the Pokemon TCG player because there is yeah, just one more tournament coming right up. So let's do this time some meta share predictions. We always kind of like talk about what we think a deck is going to be in the meta, but let's like put a hard number
Kind of
on each of
know.
the top handful of decks here and say what we think they're going to be. So starting with Charizard, 15% in Peoria. We both kind of thought it was going to be around that 10ish, maybe 12%, up to 15 though. You think that remains true in Sacramento?
So the one thing to think about this with these being so close is a lot of people aren't going to change decks based off Peoria. They'll just tech their deck differently, right?
Yeah.
So Peoria happened, and you shouldn't. To be honest, the vast majority of players should not switch just because you have a lot bad lost box Kyogre deck matchup and it just won the last regional. You shouldn't switch decks.
Oh,
You might
oh,
tech
here
differently.
one more thing too. 1700 players in Peoria. How many of those 1700 players do you think will be playing in Sacramento?
I'm actually interesting. I think actually Shemansky had a stat on that a while ago where it was like how many
How
new
many
players are there on
players like only played
average.
one tournament a
Yeah,
year?
yeah, basically something like that, and you could, like, kinda deduce what was the average amount of, like, returning players or had already been at a regional. I
It's
guess that'd be a little bit
definitely
hard
a
to
few hundred.
yeah, I mean, it'll
Like,
be
it's a decent
some.
chunk of the it's a decent percentage of the room for sure.
Yeah, because there's I mean, if let me go look at, what we're talking about, Sacramento?
Mhm.
1,700, take out 200, so there's 1,500 masters, looking at 1,400 masters, maybe 400 of them were at
Yeah.
I don't know, it's so hard to tell. The less, the better, to be honest, as far as, like, growth of the game goes, the less that are, like I don't know if that actually makes any sense. But yeah, there's gonna be some, right? What is the number? I'm actually not too sure. But yeah, they'll probably be all playing pretty much the same deck for the most part. But Zard, I think it definitely has to come down, right? We're not going higher. Could it be 15 again? I think 12 or 10. It's in the 10 to 12. It's in like the 10 range, but it goes up instead of maybe going down.
Yeah,
So
I
10 to
think
12 is my
minimum
prediction.
12. I think it's minimum 12, and I
Okay,
could
really?
see it being 15 again for sure. Even though
Sheesh.
it didn't
It's a
top
good
8 or
deck.
anything like that, but, like, it has solid matchups against the decks that were in top 8, right? Like, it's fine
I don't
against the
know.
Lost Box decks. It's fine against Miraidon.
I need that spirit tomb so you're
Maybe
not
not
getting
as much with the
grabbered.
path builds. Maybe you're a little scared of the Muse stuff, right? With the with the grabber path combo, judge, all
Yeah.
that stuff. I don't
You
know
could
what.
play if you play your own spear tomb, I think you overcome Mew.
Yeah, and that might
And
be the
then
tech worth including in your Charizard deck, right?
yeah, if you're not trying to get grabbered. Yeah, now I'm sure a lot of people are gonna take their Zard deck and they'll be like, okay, do I need a tech for that matchup? Let's test it. You know, how good of a matchup does Grabber Mew actually have? Or Handlock Mew, we can call it that. How good of a matchup does Handlock Mew have against Zard? And if it's still like only 50-50, might not be worth teching for because I think we'll see more techs from Mew in general showing up. So the Zard players might just be like, if it's a 50-50, I'll take it. But if it's like bad, it's like a 60-40, 70-30 in Handlock's favor, then you probably want to add the Spirit Tomb back into your deck and you just kind of beat them with the Spirit Tomb. So
Spiritomb is also pretty good against colorless Lugia.
pretty good against Lugia. Yeah, maybe Zard's broken. All it
Turn
misses
off that
all
weird
it's missing
ear.
that Spirit Tomb. Also, it's good against Miraidon. Shut off the Raikou, shut off. Is
That's
that
it.
it? That's
It's
it.
not that good against
Luminion.
Miraidon.
They
It's
sometimes play
okay.
Luminion. It's shut off the Raikou. Dude, the amount of games I've been able to play because of Fleet Foot is pretty high. Shut off the Raikou. But yeah, Spirit Team seems like a solid inclusion in Zard if to fix that matchup potentially.
It
But
does. It
I
is
think it's
kind of
got to come
interesting.
down.
It
Being
does
15 again would
kind
be
of give your
ridiculous.
opponent another odd prize, which might not be good, right?
It's like not too hard to draw two odd prizes against Zard though. I feel like it's pretty easy because like they put the
Yeah.
Mew in play and then you boss around the Mew and then the Mew's
Hmm.
still there. So
Well, you don't. Yeah,
um
yeah. I guess. Yeah, it's true. Yeah, I'm gonna put it down here as 12%. Are you okay with that?
yeah, let's go 12.
Yeah, 12%. Could definitely see it still being up to 15 though. All right, Lugia. We'll just combine both the Lugias here once again.
Yeah.
I think it's just, they are obviously different decks, but just for simplicity's sake, probably still right around that 10-ish percent. Could see
Yeah, I
it
think it'll
even.
come down.
Yeah, I could see it going down because of the poor conversion rate, maybe.
Yeah.
But Lugia, I mean, it's just like I don't think it's a deck that's really realistically day one ever going to be below 10%.
Yeah, definitely be a hard sell for sure. I think and
Miraidon,
then
though, on the other hand, I could definitely see just holding true at 12.
yeah, could it come up? Would Miraidon ever be the most popular deck? No shot. At 12. Locking at 12. Let's stop talking.
You're saying I'm giving Miraidon nothing. Yeah, we can
No,
lock him
I
in
think
at
Miraidon's a
12.
solid choice. Yeah, you shouldn't if you're on Miraidon, like and this is what a lot of people were telling me, like asking me like before the tournament, before PR, it's like, I've been playing Miraidon. Should I keep playing it? Zard's scary. I'm like, yeah, you put the pass in there, the matchup becomes better. Like, if it's the deck you've tested the most, like, the number one factor for your result is going to be your play. So, like, yeah, play them right. And we saw two of them top 8, right? Like,
Yep.
I think it'll be the same thing here. Like, it's Miraidon's not the best deck in the format. Tough time against Lost Box. Um, Tough time against Zard, probably still, right? So, but like, it's not like terrible matchups, right? You can beat pretty much anything with Miraidon. So, already
Gertie probably
10.
10. Yeah. We're kind of aligned on our thoughts here, I think, for most things.
I mean, it's a 10 format though. We're in a 10 format
Lost
sometimes.
box,
Yeah, 10.
10.
Like we saw Lost Tina at Barcelona was 16% after it was like 13% in Pittsburgh, but then like a bunch of 10s. Like this time, like our standout deck was like the Charizard at 15, but then everything else was 10 to 12. Lugia got 13, whatever. Jian Pao, does this become a 10 all of a sudden? Do we get to 10 with Jian
I
Pao?
don't think it gets boosted.
Don't think so. Think it holds at 8, or are we going down?
Um, Wait, yeah, what would it even eat into? Like, maybe Chimpao eats into Lugia a little bit. Maybe Lugia drops down and Chimpao goes up. Maybe Lugia is like the 8. I'm
So
kind of rethinking what I
Lugia,
said earlier.
no. So Lugia players are just Jian Pao players in disguise.
Maybe so. Well, I'm just trying to think like what
Who
decks.
gets converted to Chien Pao?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Who is who is Kieran converted?
Converting yeah.
Um
After Kieran put out the Chien Pao Bible, who's picking it up, giving it a read, and convert at that point. Yeah, I don't know, cause yeah, for a deck to become more popular, other decks have to become less popular, right? Maybe just more less lost, less. You know what? Lost Teen is just going down. It's going all the way down. Chien
That's
Pao
where the
just
meta
eating
share
into
is going.
yeah.
Chimpow's up, lost Tina down.
Lost Teen
Okay,
is gonna
sure.
stay down until 0%. Give it to Chien
8%.
Pao. Yeah, well,
8% Chimpow. We'll
I
keep
could
it
see
at
Chien
that.
Pao being a 10 though. I think it's on the
I don't
8.
disagree.
Like, I think when I think about these numbers, like, when I give Gardevoir 10, I think Gardevoir's gonna be 10 or less. When I think about,
We're basically, by the
uh
way, just recreating the Peoria numbers, like almost exactly.
it's a 10% meta, though. Like, there's gonna be a couple decks that go above. But yeah, when I think about something about Chi and Power right now, I feel like Chi and Power is an 8+ deck. I feel like Miraidon is also like a 10+ deck. So when I give something like a 10%, there's either a plus or a minus, where it's like 10 to 12 or 10 to 8. You know what I'm saying? Um, Lost Tina, 2%, lock it up.
I mean, I think it's like no less than 7 or 6, honestly. And I could see it hopping back up there just
No
because it's
shot.
well, just because people like we've already established there's probably gonna be 1,000 players in this tournament who didn't compete in Peoria. A large majority of them already know what they're playing, right? Like,
And I feel bad for them if they're picking up the Lost Tina. They've like locked it in for 3 weeks now. They're like, yes, Lost Tina. They're gonna show up. I mean, someone's got to go through a drop. Might as well be the Lost Tina players. I don't think.
sheesh. Savage Azul, always on the
Yeah,
lost
probably
Tina.
around 6 still. Probably around 6% still. You know,
That would be
someone
the
showing up
lowest
to
it's
the
been. That would
tournament.
be the lowest it's been since NAIC, I guess.
Propaganda can only go so far, Chip. At some point, people have to come around and be like, wait, I'm going 0-3 at every single tournament. I better put this thing away.
I mean, I put Rapid Strike on here. It's obviously not gonna be on the chart, but it's probably the next most notable deck, I would say.
And I have a tough time with Rapid
Or I
Strike because
didn't
I
even
was
put
pretty
Mew
hyped.
on here. What am I doing? I didn't put Mew on here. We gotta put
Well,
Mew
add
up
me
here.
while I talk about Rapid Strike. Rapid Strike, I was pretty hype on going into this tournament, but one matchup like I'm not 100% confident is the Charizard matchup. And if it does have a bad Charizard matchup, I would say Rapid Strike's probably not a great deck because the colorless Lugia, the Lugia matchup is just horrendous. Colorless or non-colorless. I was like actually unsure about the colorless Lugia matchup until I played it, and I was just like, Mew just carries this matchup so hard. Even Weird Ear can get in there. I feel like you KO their Urshifu with Weird Ear. They just don't have a response to your
Mhm.
Weird Ear. So yeah, that's really hard. Rapid Strike, I feel like if the Charizard matchup is bad, Rapid Strike is bad. If the Charizard matchup is good, if it's favorable, I think it has to be favorable though. Then I think Rapid Strike is still in a solid spot, but it'll never be above like a 4% deck, 3-4%, right? Like it's never breaking. It's just one of those decks, that never will break those numbers because it is a little bit more of a meta collie deck. Um, so it's hard to get it right, and not a lot of people are trying to go out of their way to get it right. I just want to play something that's like can be pretty much everything.
Rapid
But then
Strike
yeah, go
4%.
ahead. Yeah, 4%. And then Mew, I don't know what percentage Mew was at the tournament. It wasn't on the top six.
It was less than 7.9. I actually don't know for sure.
Do they get split into two different categories?
No. Mew
No,
and
okay.
DT Infusion, no. But I would expect it to heavily favor DTE Mew for this tournament.
And it will increase, but I think it'll do really bad because I think
Well,
we'll see stuff like Miraidon adding
yeah, I think we'll see
Spiritomb.
Spiritomb's index.
Yeah, there'll be a little bit more. I
So
think Spiritomb
maybe
specifically.
as Mew players, should they react and not play DT, play Fusion? If there's if call in Merely
And then
Matthews, we
what?
gotta
Just
hit
lose
him
to
up and be
Charizard.
like,
So you play
yeah,
Fusion and just lose to Charizard then? Like, you're gonna be like, "To beat the Spiritombs, I'm gonna lose to Charizard." And
yeah.
then imagine if the Charizard rolls up with Spiritomb. It's just like I think Mew is gonna be more popular because like, the deck is cool, right? The handlock build of the deck is really sick, right? Mew's fun, it's sick. It'll be more popular, I think, than Peoria, but I think it'll have a worse time. It did pretty well at, Peoria overall, to be honest. There was, like, 3 of them in the top 17 players or whatever, including, Colin
We'll
and
give it an
Rowan.
8.
Oh, okay, that's way too high. Alright,
Nah,
maybe
we'll
that
give
is
it.
made them I give it an 8.
We, I love how quick your mind gets changed.
Mew broke its streak finally of not being on the graphic, though, we can mention that, right? It's been on the graphic every single time since Mew's been a card, and finally,
Did it
there's no
never
way.
miss? I feel like it missed at Worlds.
No,
Day
it didn't
one
miss it.
Worlds. I think it missed day one Worlds.
Ooh, okay, you might be right.
I think it missed day one Worlds.
Okay.
All right. Well, let's just do a couple quick Sacramento predictions and then we'll move on. We got to get rolling here. This is getting pretty long already. All right.
Chip's
Over.
always complaining. No one else complains about how long the podcast is except Chip. Let him know in the comment section once again.
Dude,
Let him know. Be like, Chip, we want longer podcast episodes. All right, Chip, you can go ahead
it's
and complain again.
almost what I am, man. Come on.
All right, I
I
got some
gotta
quick
wake up and get.
predictions
I gotta
for
get my baby
Sacramento.
up tomorrow.
We got some interesting ones. Over under on the amount of championship points the winner will have before the win. And the over
Yep.
under is on 250.5. Chip, do you think they'll have more than that before they win or less than that?
Yeah, I'm gonna go with over 250.5. And I know
Okay.
you're gonna say under because you're picking yourself.
That's right. Well, now that you've picked over, I'm down to pick myself for the under to have a little bit of back and forth here because I have 0 championship points. My plan is to win the tournament. So I'm going to go ahead with under. You know what would be funny?
We should do
Could
a
I
we should do
be
like a community vote How many regionals, how many majors will it take for Azul to earn championship points?
I was just about to say, what if I just like would I could I be the first Worlds competitor with 0 championship points? Has anyone else, like, earned 0 championship points after they've gotten top 4 at
Blaine
Worlds?
Hill.
Oh, okay, so I wouldn't be the first, but I could join Blaine with that. I could get
He
that
got top
stat.
4, right? Am I tripping? Yeah,
Yeah,
he
yeah,
got
Blaine
top
got
4.
top
Yeah,
4,
yeah.
yeah. Did Blaine didn't earn a single championship point that season.
Not that he didn't play that. He was in college. He was just like, "Yeah, this works perfect." I And also
Mhm.
because no, maybe he did pre-COVID. He definitely didn't post-COVID because he got top 4 at 2019 Worlds, and then
Yeah,
2022 Worlds didn't happen, so the tournament didn't happen until 2022. So,
yeah,
I'm pretty sure he may have had some points in 2019, 2020
yeah,
before COVID, and then when we came back he definitely did not from Salt Lake to Worlds. He had 0
yeah.
points for sure.
That might be, like, a stat worth adding to, like, my accolades, like, this like, there's once you, like, do so many things in the Pokemon TCG, you gotta,
That's
like,
not a
find other
stat, bro.
things. I mean, it could be, now it
That's a
is.
crap.
No, that's like one of those weird sports stats that they throw out there, when the moon is full on October
Azul did
30th.
so bad at the start of the season, he just decided to stop playing and took his free invite.
Yeah, I mean, I have that as the backup, right? Just in case it just keeps going bad. Maybe I'm just like, you know what? Just gonna do content the rest of the year. No more competing. We'll take a break. See y'all next season. Or maybe I just like chain them. Top four after top four after top four. Sneak a dub in there. I just actually never play besides Worlds ever again. That would be sick,
You
to be
become the
honest.
new Tom Dozel.
Yeah, that'd be like the next level of Tom Doseling. Like, oh, there's top 4 worlds every single year to get your invite.
Yeah.
I'm down. All right, I'll do it. You know what? You've convinced me, Chip.
Highest
Um,
placing lost Tina at the tournament. This is the prediction Azul always comes back
I
to.
think it's a good one. Pick a deck that's a little bit controversial or like a new
It's
deck.
I gotta say, I think the deck is only controversial because of you.
That's good. That's makes it funny though. It's like that is hilarious though that people care enough. Well, listen, I think my opinion is pretty good on most things in the Pokemon TCG, right? And I think it's cool that people care about that
Hey,
sometimes. But it is funny when
whenever Cosmic Eclipse came out, what did you think about that card, Arceus, Dialga, and Palkia?
it wasn't broken until Zacian came out. We didn't have it was good. It
Was
was
it in your
solid
top
with
10
Keldeo.
Cosmic Eclipse
It
cards
was
on your
not. It
YouTube
should have
channel?
been. It should have been. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and say the highest placing Lost will be
Pretty good opinions over
top
here.
64 because like some people are still gonna play it. It is a solid deck. I think yeah, how much you have to work for the trade off though is like not worth it. Like the amount they have to work for like Lost Box Kyogre is like worth the trade off. How much you have to work for Lost Tina is not worth the trade off. So yeah, top 64 still gonna be played a decent amount. There's still gonna probably be some decent players playing it, but
Yeah.
actually nah, top 128. Put him in the
Oh,
dirt.
sheesh.
Yeah, we're going further. I've thought about it a little bit more. No shot, bro. Top 128.
I'm gonna give it the top. I was gonna agree with you on the top 64. It did get one top 32 finish in Peoria. Someone got 30th place
They got so
with the
lucky. They
deck.
drew so hot. There's no way.
Shout outs to
And then
Aaron West. But yeah, I'm gonna go with top 64. And yeah, we'll go on to the last prediction here is the highest placing non-meta chart deck. So this kind of has two levels to it, right? Only
yeah.
6 decks get put on the meta chart. And we're going to say like day 1 meta chart deck, not day 2, day 1.
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
what deck do we think is going to have the highest placement that is not in the top 6 day 1 decks is kind of the question. Maybe a little too many
Mm.
levels to this prediction, but
No,
hopefully
that's two
you
levels.
understand where we're at.
Yeah, so we have to come up with a deck that we don't think will be on the meta chart. And
I
if it is, we
explained it
insta
already.
lose. And then we have to be like, which one do we think is gonna be the highest placing of a non-meta chart deck?
Yeah, for the people who don't
That's
understand
literally against everything
anything
else.
Chip says, but understand Azul, you now
I'm
understand.
going with Lost Tina.
So you think that no decks,
No,
no
no.
7,
No, there will
8
be. Give me
Oh my gosh.
it's gonna be an Arceus deck.
This is
There's a couple of
chaos.
them. I'm gonna go with Arceus. Lugia's not as popular. Arceus Vulpix slash Flying Pikachu. There'll be a Arceus with a Vulpix. That is going to be my guess. Will be the highest with a Vulpix. It might have a Flying Pikachu as well. I don't know. I don't think people are going to be as hype on playing Duraludon though anymore because there's going to be less Lugia for sure. So that's going to be Arceus picks.
I'm gonna make the call that of the top I'm gonna try to make the call on what the like 7th deck is. Actually, no. I'm gonna make the call on what a known good deck is that is never on the meta chart. and I'm gonna go with Rapid Strike.
Ooh, okay, that's kind of cheating, but we'll accept it. It's fine.
Uh, is it cheating or is it just, playing to the rules laid out in front of me?
I don't know,
It
how
says
did
in the
Rapid
rule
Strike
book how
do
much
at
time I'm allowed to take
Peoria?
per action.
Dude, man, Rapid Strike had a bad time. Where's the highest placing Rapid Strike here?
Oh wait, maybe I should have looked at that.
I'm still going. And that's I missed it.
You probably missed it.
97th.
That's the highest placing one?
Abort. No, no, no. 85th. 85th. Excuse me.
No, no way.
Yeah, that's crazy. The deck usually is like one of them. Usually, like if you just hit your good matchups, you're just cruising.
Yeah, dang, 85th place, highest finishing Rapid Strike. They got farmed in day two. Jeez, that Charizard matchup must not be good.
That is the question for me, to be honest. That's the question I've been trying to figure out the answer to.
I was about to make the call that Mew was not going to be on the top 6 decks, and I was going to go with Mew, but
Could not. It might
I'm
not be there,
sticking
to
to
be
my
honest.
guns. We're going with Rapid Strike. All right, let's get it.
I mean, it'll come around hopefully for it. We'll see.
Well, before we get into everyone's favorite segment of the show, we do have to take a moment to thank our fantastic sponsor. Honestly, this is probably someone's favorite segment of the show. As we thank our sponsor, Dragon Shield. Huge thanks to Dragon Shield for being a sponsor of the Uncommon Energy podcast. Dragon Shield, of course, makes some of the best card gaming and tabletop gaming products and accessories on the market, including sleeves, binders, deck boxes, and so much more. Azul, would you rock this weekend? If you say Blood
Uh,
Reds, I'm gonna scream.
I did actually for the first half a day when I had the blood reds, and then I
Oh my
re-sleeved
gosh.
with the
The day
tangerines.
one resleeve, dude, that's so cringe. You gotta stop doing that. You're
it
not
just,
nothing's gonna
dude, I'm
happen
just,
to you, man.
oh yeah, nothing's gonna happen. But I just like, I need that new sleeve feel. I just need it. I need it. So I got it, and I did it, and it didn't really change my outcome, to be honest. Nothing really changed. But yeah, nothing really changed. Yeah, I rocked the blood reds and the tangerines. The
Ooh,
tangerines are one of my favorite colors. That's one of my favorites. So
I don't
rock
think
the
I've used the
tangerines.
tangerines.
Big fan. But yeah, big shout out to Dragon Shield as always for being a sponsor of the podcast. Appreciate it. Go check them out at dragonshield.com/webshop/US or EU, depending on where you're located. And of course, they're literally available everywhere else. You can find them anywhere. And with that said, Chip, go ahead, kick us off into the flavor text.
All right, it is time for Guess That Flavor Text, where each week Azul or I picks a card for the other host. We read the flavor text off of the card, and the other person has to try to guess which Pokemon card we are reading, which Pokemon is featured on the card we are talking about. There are 3 lifelines you can use to try to get you a little bit of extra help. You can ask what set the card is from, what stage the card is, or have the other host read an attack name. It is my turn this week to pick a card for Azul. I've got one picked out that I hope he has a chance to get. We'll see, though. We'll see.
Hit me.
And yeah, are you ready?
I'm ready, Chip.
All right. Aided by the soft pads on its feet, it silently raids the food stores of other Pokemon. It survives off its ill gotten gains.
All right. Soft pads on its feet. So it sounds like some kind of like dog Pokemon, maybe. I'm trying to think if there's any dog. I mean, what is the one that's like really fluffy? It's like the graveyard Pokemon, the graveyard dog. But I don't know if it would be that. So let's go with what set the card is from to begin with, to be honest. Give me a little bit of a
Yeah, yeah.
time
The
frame.
card is from Sword and Shield base set.
All right, Sword and Shield base set. Well, then it can't be that Pokemon because that can't Pokemon came out in Scarlet and Violet. All right, I got that down.
Oh, that's like the first time Azul has ever made that connection whenever being given a set name.
Like
Usually it's
based
like
on
I
a
give him a Gen
generation.
3 set and he's like, okay, so it could be Magnezone, Pokemon which didn't exist back then.
All right, what we have to go a little. I think we just need more here. What stage is the card?
It is a basic.
Okay, it did sound like it was going to be a basic. Maybe I didn't really need that one. I kind of knew it was going to be a basic. Give me an attack name. Let's go with that.
Its attack name is Instigate.
Instigate. That sounds like it goes to a colorless Pokemon. If I had to guess, man, I am just like completely lost on this one. Maybe it's Furfru, Furfru.
What set did I say it was from?
Sword and Shield. There could be a Furfrou in Sword and Shield, as far as I know. There's probably not, but
I
dude, I
tried
honestly
to
have
help you, man. I
like
literally before we recorded and I was picking the card, I said, "Azul, what Pokemon game have you played?"
I said Sword and Shield, the only one I've
Okay.
ever played.
Okay.
Yeah, I know, but this is not how Zacian. It's not Zacian. Read me the read me the I said like a dog
Think
type Pokemon,
about your
maybe a
time
cat. Oh, wait a
playing the
second.
game. Think about the Pokemon that you encountered when you were playing the game.
What about the Litten? Because there's Incineroar. Well, no, but
Oh
oh
my
no.
gosh, that's the wrong generation,
Oh.
man. Come
All right, read it to
on.
me one last time, and I'm gonna make a guess.
Oh my
You're
gosh,
really
this is
trying to give me this one.
outrageous. I just want you to have something.
All right, give it to me one last time.
Aided by the soft pads on its feet, it silently raids the food stores of other Pokemon. It survives off its ill-gotten gains.
It's kind of like a mischievous, thieving Pokemon. Oh, is it? No, probably not. Instigate, but that would work with it as well. The Impidimp? That's what I got right now is Impidimp. We're locking in Impidimp.
Bro, you I'm gonna scream. You were like so stupidly close. What word did you say? It's a thieving Pokemon?
Oh, Thievul, so it's
And what
the
does a
basic.
Thievul evolve from?
I don't know.
Oh my gosh. It's Nickit.
Oh, I know this card too. Yeah, with the Instigate. Yeah, I've seen this one before. Um, yeah, did not get that one.
You'll oh my gosh. You like 1,000% caught one of these when you played the game.
I don't know if I did.
Dude, it's like one of the first Pokemon you encounter. It's like so early in the game. It was definitely early enough in the game where you were like, "Oh yeah, I'm playing this game. I'll catch everything that's new I see." Like
The new Fox
you
Pokemon? Okay, yeah.
oh my gosh. Get your Switch out right now. Open it up, Sword and Shield. You've got a Nickit in
In
your
the box.
box. I promise you.
There
You
might be
probably have
one
a
there, yeah.
Thievul on your team. Who knows?
Yeah, I could have gone a little bit further. Yeah. I got
Oh.
close. Not quite
No,
there
you
though.
didn't.
All right, we got some new
Oh.
cards to take a look at, give our thoughts on. I think the biggest thing to talk about here before we take a look at the cards is that we mentioned this with Obsidian Flames. 1 week difference or 2 weeks difference in the set releases in Japan and over here everywhere else in the world. And it's basically confirmed. I feel like with this set release that they're gonna almost effectively line us up with the Japan set releases. So Ancient Roar and Future Flash release on October 27th, and just a week later on October or November 3rd,
Mhm.
we get Paradox Rift. Like that's we've been waiting for this for forever, and
As
it's
long as
finally
you've been
here.
in the game, I feel like this has been a
Yeah.
thing, right?
Yeah, pretty much as long as I've been playing, we've been like waiting for this to line up. We basically already knew that we were going to rotate with the same format that Japan rotates with because we haven't gotten any rotation information yet. So we're going to rotate sometime January, February for sure in the same format that where Japan rotates. We already knew that was going to happen. The one thing that we weren't sure about was, are the set releases going to continue to line up? And they are, which is sick. Like this is like so good for the game. Like that's yeah. Now we're not gonna have now we're not gonna know half the decks when we get our set release because Japan has already had it for like 1 or 2 months. So there's gonna be so much like more time to like experience that. To be honest, the creation of the new deck. So I'm a big fan of that personally as like a content creator and somebody who streams a lot of Pokemon and stuff like that. So I'm super excited for this to be a reality. And I mean the only thing I can think of is that like TPCI could take this away from us, but I assume that they're doing this, they're going to keep doing it. So yeah, I'm super excited for this to be a continuous thing where we just get the set 1 week after Japan does. So that's gonna be sick.
Yeah, so I mean that does kind of bring up a interesting question, and Robin actually tweeted about this. I don't think we've talked about this on the podcast. Um, when cards come out in Japan, they are legal for tournament play the second they come out. The second someone
Yeah,
can get their hands on a card, you can go play it in an official sanctioned event. In the rest of the world, you have to wait 2 weeks. It's a 2-week period, and I think the idea is like you're just giving people more time to get their hands on their cards, right? They're ordering cards, singles online from shops that open up tons of booster boxes, and you give yourself a chance to get your hands on them before it's time to play. And Robin put out a tweet recently. You, of course, webmaster over at Limitless and 2018 world champion. He asked, I'm curious what people think about the current legality rule for new cards. I believe every other TCG, as well as Pokemon in Japan, lets players use new cards in tournaments immediately after release, while we have a 2-week waiting period. So, yeah, he brings up another good point in this main post, right? That other card games, think Yu-Gi-Oh, One Piece, all those things, cards are legal literally the second you can get your hands on them, just like it is in Japan. And overall, the vote on his Twitter poll was you had 1,800 people voting on this. 50% of the people said that 2 weeks would be fine, 25% saying 1 week would be fair, and 25% saying it should be removed. So if we're moving to a release date that's really close to Japan's, would it ever make sense to have a legality date be the same as Japan's as well, and also copy what every other card game does?
I don't think so. I think that just sounds worse. Like, why would you not want to give time? Like
Because the
it like
hype
hurts the.
dies down, right?
But
Think
not in
about the
competitive,
regionals
not
that
in
have happened.
competition though.
Think about the regionals that have happened when a new set is not legal for play, like that in during that 2-week grace period, because it's
True.
happened multiple times. Those regionals are no fun to play in, and they're no fun to broadcast either. It's like they
Yeah,
do worse viewership wise because people just don't care anymore. People have moved on. People
the
are
new
excited
sets
about the
out.
new
Yeah.
stuff. Yeah.
I mean, the one thing that would suck would just be like, what if you just can't get the cards for like that would suck, right? Like maybe a week then at that point, because you'd want to be able to, like, what if you like Charizard releases and like you even have like a list prepped and then you just can't get 4 Charizard or 3 Charizard before the tournament happens? Like that would suck. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know. That's like the one thing I think about is just like I like the idea of having a little bit of time to get the cards. Um, so I also would then that lead to so wait October 27th. Hold up, what is that? Is that a Friday still?
Yeah,
Um,
probably.
it is a Friday. So what if you have tournaments on Saturday and Sunday? The set drops on the 27th and it's like boom, Saturday, Sunday. Go get your cards. Like you have 24 hours or less to get your cards for your tournament the next day. Your League Cup,
Yeah.
your League Challenge, whatever. So
And
I think a week. I think I would be fine with a week, I think, but I think you giving people time to get the cards to play in the tournament and not making it, oh, the people who can actually get the cards is just at an advantage. Um, is is uh is good because otherwise that does kind of breed, and I wonder if that is in other card games where it's just like the players with the best connections, um, and who can get the cards the soonest. Like, is that just an advantage inherently, just an advantage? Like, because I would
yeah.
like there to be an even playing field, right? In that kind of sense. So maybe a week. I could see a week.
And there were some good responses to this tweet as well. Like this person, Jimmy, says the difference with other card games, I played Digimon and One Piece, is that a booster box in these games gives you a lot of playables. I could buy one box and have a play set of all commons and uncommons. In
Yeah,
Pokemon, you can have 0 cards of an uncommon trainer in a box. Like you could buy a box
I
of
don't know about
Paldea
zero,
Evolved and
but
get 0 Ionos out of it, right?
I mean, I guess if you're that unlucky, but that seems unlucky. Like, I think you're getting an Iono. I mean, still, yeah,
Probably,
you're
but
not
the
getting
sets
a
are so
play
big.
set.
The sets are so big.
True, true, true.
So
Yeah,
that's a part of it. And then Rahul also commented here and said the biggest difference between everywhere else in the world and Japan is the number of card stores and availability. Singles are found on every street corner, wall to wall over there, making release day buys accessible. That doesn't hold true in the West, where stores rarely have singles. And that is another good
yeah,
point. Like a lot of times I'll go into a card shop and they only sell Magic the Gathering singles, they don't sell
yeah.
Pokemon singles.
Especially nowadays when Pokemon singles are just not worth like stocking up. You know, Pokemon singles are just not worth anything anymore. So, which is like a good. It's like I think we're like not at the happy medium. I think it's like a little bit too not worth anything for card stores for local game stores. But obviously, it's like a good thing when you can just order like 4 Guard 4 EX online for $2 each or something, right? But
Yeah.
I don't
It's
think we're at
kind of
that happy
crazy. What
medium.
has
But
made it that be that way? They just up
hit
the pull
rate, you
rates way
just
too much?
yeah, the hit rates are just so good. But like, yeah, I think you want that happy medium where like local game stores can add some revenue to their revenue stream through Pokemon signals singles. Um, and the game is still pretty cheap to get into, right? As well, you want like the happy medium. I think we're a little bit on the too favored towards players side of things right now, but
I think it would just
um,
be a really good thing if they made a concentrated effort to not have tournaments happen, like major tournaments. Locals or
yeah.
whatever is
Well, they
fine.
do already. Like the ICs are literally the date of when the IC happens is based around the release date of the set. Literally for the last forever, ICs since like ICs have
Last season,
started.
we had one that wasn't, but yeah, generally,
Yeah. Well,
yes.
that's because of like the sets being messed up, the release dates of the sets being messed
Yeah,
up. But generally, the new set releases 2 weeks. The new major set releases 2 weeks before the IC, and is legal on the Friday of the IC competition. Right? It's like literally scheduled that way throughout the year. So,
yeah.
um, if they made it, if they made it one, I mean, keeping it 2 weeks in that situation, I guess, kind of seems fine. But maybe make it 1 week. Um, and then you literally just said something else that I was going to say something on, but I literally forgot what you said. What did you say?
About
You
card
said
shops,
card shops, something else, yada
there's so many of them in
yada.
Japan.
No, you're saying something card shops don't have major tournaments. Oh yeah, just like schedule the major tournaments around. Like we have 4 events in a row. Like in North America, for example, we have 4 events in a row in or 3 events in October, and then there's only LAIC in November.
Yeah,
Maybe one of these tournaments in October should have been the week after LAIC, right?
that's
Like,
Thanksgiving.
well, we always used to have LAIC on Thanksgiving, so you know what? We can have a regional on Thanksgiving. We can make it work.
Thanksgiving is an American
All right,
holiday.
2 weeks after LAIC. Boom, there we go. Right?
Yeah,
28th, 29th. Because what, Thanksgiving is what, the 21st,
there's
22nd?
one 2 weeks after that week that you're talking about.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying,
But
like,
yeah, I don't disagree.
they could
Yeah,
have maybe
sure,
spread
sure,
out a
sure.
little bit.
Put one
Yeah.
the week after Thanksgiving, maybe.
Yeah, we could have maybe could have spread them out a little bit more. But I would be fine with 1 week, I think. It would keep the game moving and flowing a little bit. Yeah, you wouldn't have, like, those back-to-back regionals. Like, we had that last year, I think, where we had like back-to-back regionals that just weren't in the new format, and we are like, all right, I mean, this is like whatever, I guess. It definitely is less enjoyable to play, less enjoyable to watch. Yeah, maybe 1 week is the better sweet spot. And maybe just like change up. Maybe the scheduling needs to be adjusted as well, and be a little bit with that more in mind as well.
Let's get
But immediately, I'm not a big fan of
into
immediately. To be honest, I'm not a big fan of immediately.
let's get into these new cards. A bunch of new ones. We've got several different articles here on Poke Beach we're going to go through. And we're going to start off with the first one here of note is the Armor Rouge EX. It's got the ability Crimson Armor. It is a 260 HP fire type stage 1 Pokemon with 2 retreat, weak to water, Crimson Armor ability. When this Pokemon is at full HP, it takes 80 less damage from attacks of your opponent's Pokemon. So if it's got full HP, it's up to 340. And then its attack
Effectively,
might sound familiar to certain fire type players. It's got the
fire type
Scorching
mains.
Bazooka attack, which I hope that's how it gets translated over here. I have to imagine it won't. I don't feel like they like the word bazooka. It's got 40 plus damage. This attack does 40 more damage for each fire energy attached to this Pokemon. First time I read this card, I was just like, it's a worse Scorch VMAX. This card is terrible. It's not going to be that good. But Azul and I talked about it a little bit before, and he reminded me of another card that exists and some things that make it pretty decent.
Yeah. Also, like with the ability, it's kind of because it gives you take reduced 80 damage. So it's hard to kind of just have like a chump go up there and break the ability because the chump has to be hitting for at least 90 damage, right? So
Yeah, right.
yeah, it's gonna be hard for something to just come up there and poke it to remove the ability to not send up one of your main threats, and then go into a main threat to clean it up later. Being weak to water is whatever, but yeah, it does have some good pieces. The other Armor Rouge with the fire off that can move as many fire energy from your bench Pokemon to your active as you like, as often as you like. And then the bigger one, I think, for getting fire energy in play to be hitting harder with the Armor Rouge um, is the Magma Basin, which Chip initially pointed out does 2 damage to your Pokemon. And I was like,
Yeah,
Chip, what if you just don't put the energy on your Armor Rouge EX to not break its ability ahead of time? And he was like,
yeah.
genius. And then
You got to put it
the
on
deck
this
was
Armor
born.
Rouge and
Or
then
like
bloop,
any
move it
other
up
fire
here.
Pokemon, you could just like play, I don't know, Heatran, Radiant Heatran, pretty cool guy, likes the damage even.
Okay. Oh, snap. Azul's just made an archetype. Here we go. Someone stop him.
Yeah, that's just like a lot of like what we've kind of said this before, and this is what we kind of said about Charizard EX. To be honest, it's like if the stats are high enough, it doesn't matter how like if it doesn't have anything, some cool new game breaking thing, right? You don't need an alter creation to be good if you're just doing a lot of damage and have a lot of HP. And this thing
Yeah.
has a lot of HP and could do a lot of damage. So yeah, I'm a big fan of the Armor Rouge, to be honest. Big fan.
We do have another EX here. It's Golisopod
We can skip this
EX.
one if you want. This one's not very good.
Well, I'll just read it real quick at least. 270 HP, water type, stage 1, 3 retreat, weak to lightning. It's got the Aqua Blade attack for 2 colorless. It does 70 damage. And then strategic retreat, water and 2 colorless. 170, discard 1 energy from this Pokemon. If you do, switch this Pokemon with one of your benched Pokemon. Yeah, nothing too special going on there. Are you annoyed that I read it?
No, it's just funny. I think the next most relevant to read is the mouse hold, just because it's cool.
Bro, we're going to read
Um,
all the EXs.
all right, go ahead, Chip. Be
We've got
disappointed again.
Altaria EX. It's a 260 HP stage 1 with no weakness and 1 retreat. It's got the ability Humming Heal. Once during your turn,
Ooh.
you may heal 20 damage from each of your Pokemon. And then it has Light Pulse for a water and a metal energy, 140. And then during your opponent's next turn, prevent all effects of attacks from your opponent's Pokemon done to this Pokemon.
The heel's kind of cool.
I knew
You
you
can
would
put
have
a
something to say about it.
you can put a rigid band on it. 290, reduce 30, heal, Radiant Serena, another
Yeah,
20.
yeah.
Then we scroll down to
Venusaur
Mousehold EX.
EX.
That's a stage 2. That stays in the binder.
We've got Mousehold EX here, 230 HP stage 1. I
Okay.
think the lowest HP stage 1 we've seen so far. It's a little guy. He's
Yeah.
got free retreat though. He's pretty quick. He's moving around and he's got fighting weakness. I guess they are moving around. It is a family after all, right?
Yeah, the whole squad.
Also, they're all moving and grooving.
Yeah.
Look
Whole
at just the
squad's going good.
blank stares on the faces of the children.
Look at the one in the back doing like the what are they running away from? No? Squawkabilly?
Squawkabilly is coming to get him. Yeah, I mean, it would make sense that would be a predator or something, right?
Would it? Squawkabilly a
It's a
predator of
bird
Mousehole?
against a mouse. Birds eat
True. Yeah.
mice. All right. Solidarity as the ability. If this Pokemon is in the active spot, it is damaged by an attack from your opponent's Pokemon. Put 3 damage counters on the attacking Pokemon for each of your Tandemaus and Mousehold, including Pokemon EX, in play. And then it's got the attack Greedy Fangs for 2 colorless. Draw 2 cards. Yeah,
It deck's
this
kind of
card is
sick.
kind of interesting, but yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so you can combo it. I didn't think about this the first time I read it and like talked about it. You can combo with Zoroark. So you can have 6 in play. So they are
Yep.
taking 180 damage when they hit you. So that's cool.
There's the other Tandem Mouse too. Uh, or Mousehold, I should say.
At Mousehold. It's with an A. Mouse with an A.
Why?
I don't know.
In a new tab. I'm falling apart here. It's got the family attack as a one prizer. You know, I mean, this could be a decent little one prize option, I guess, right? 70
Yeah.
damage for each of your Mousehold in play. It does actually have to be this Mousehold, so it doesn't count Mousehold EX.
Are you sure? Isn't EX not part of the name?
It is part of the name.
Oh,
That's why
what am I
this
thinking of?
one
Oh,
that's
Level
why
X?
this one specifies including Pokemon
Yeah,
EX.
yeah, yeah. Is it Level X is that where it wasn't part of the name?
Yes. It was their
Okay.
level because all Pokemon back then had levels.
Are you sure it doesn't count it? Because it just like it
It doesn't.
all right. I thought like it was just up to. So even though there was
I
the
know.
EX
You
afterward,
thought,
all
but
right.
you're wrong.
And the last card to talk about, actually second to last card to talk about here, which is the biggest card to talk about and will definitely be a very good card in the format. I think it'll be meta warping. It'll add depth to strategies in the decks. It's the counter catcher. We've seen it before. We've got it back. As long as you're behind on prize cards, you may switch one of your opponent's bench Pokemon to the active, and it's an item card. Yeah, so we've had counter catcher before. It was a really good card before. It never felt broken though, right? I can't think of a time where counter catcher like it was out like the time I used it the most and like had the most fun with it was counter catcher in Zoropod. You could do some really cool plays where you go counter catcher something, end them to 1, knock out their engine or whatever it might be. So that's when I had the most fun with the counter catcher, but it's back and I'm excited for it because yeah, it never felt broken in the past. Probably won't feel broken now. It'll just add more depth to strategies that decks can apply and kind of work with. So I'm excited for the counter catcher.
Yeah, the gold counter catchers sold out on TCG Player literally instantly. As soon as this card was out, they were gone. And now it's $50.
Yeah. And also like speaking to counter catcher a little bit more, over the last like 2 years or so, I've come up with a lot of deck ideas where I'm like, man, if only I had counter catcher in this deck. This would make this deck good, or this idea is good if counter catcher existed. It's here now though, so hopefully I actually come up with some good ideas. Can actually put those ideas to practice now. That's
And
never my thought. Whenever I see a reprint, I never think go buy the gold version. Like not in terms of because I don't play with gold cards, but to be honest, it's an easy flip. If you get in there at the
yep,
$4 counter catchers, turn them
yep,
around for $40, like,
yep,
but that's never my thought process immediately is like, yo, go buy all the gold cards. Like, but it is for a lot of people because yeah, they're gone. They're all gone.
yeah, yeah. And then, yeah, I guess I'll just say too, like this makes like it's obviously like strong in like stall strategies and stuff like that. But like Azul said, there could just be other decks that make this card
Yeah,
could be playable. And
it does seem, it was kind of funny. Like in the post worlds, not this worlds, last worlds, uh, TCG and future announcement video, they were like, comebacks are going to be a priority in like the upcoming gameplay that you see from the Pokemon
the new
TCG, or it's going to be a
generation,
factor.
yeah.
Yeah. And then it was like, we got reversal energy eventually. And it was like, okay. And then they're like, Iono, and now counter catcher. So they're really hitting it. And they meant what they said. So it was like really cool to see. Cause at first it felt like, okay, reversal energy is bad with like, I mean, it's good in Guardy, but like, that's literally it.
It
Um,
is cool that there are things in the format that make you think twice about whether or not it's worth taking the prize card, right? That
yeah,
is definitely cool.
it's usually correct to take the prize card, but
Not always.
you want
Sometimes
to
it's
get counter
correct to
catcher in.
spread damage with Sableye because your opponent bench locked themselves and
Just keep Just stop. If you're winning, you're gonna be losing soon. So
or your
stop
opponent's
winning.
out of switch carts and you want to play around Roxanne, so you just
Yeah,
spread damage. Yep, yep.
stuff like that. And this one I was actually super scared of because immediately when I saw this card, I knew what it was, but it's not very good. It's the
You knew
Snorlax
what it was,
doll.
but you didn't know the
Yeah,
extra little part that makes it not good at all.
yeah. So it's a Snorlax doll. We've seen cards similar to this. It's a item card that you can put into play as a basic Pokemon, and when it gets KO'd, your opponent doesn't draw any prize cards. And this one has 120 HP. The last two have had 30 HP in Lily's Pokédoll and Robosub, but Snorlax doll can only be played on your first turn during setup. So it sucks, thankfully. Because I don't think I can
Yep.
run 4 of these in a deck, so you can hope to start with one and put it in play. And then have 3-day cards in your deck for the rest of the game. I don't know. I guess we have Cramomatic still, so maybe. But yeah, thankfully, this thing is not Lily's Pokédoll or Robosub with 120 HP. That would be scary. This is Snorlax doll, and I like Snorlax doll because it's bad.
Yeah, I think so Azul sees just this Japanese
And I
fluffy
just,
doll card
yeah.
get revealed and sees the only part of the card he can read 120 and then sees a wall of text and he's absolutely shaking in his boots, terrified, and then
Yep.
breathes a deep sigh of relief.
Actually, dude, I was like, "Dude, this is gonna be too good." Like, because I knew it was gonna be a Lily's Pokeball or Robosub type card, right? Just based
Right.
on how it looks. I was like, "It's gonna be when your opponent KOs us, they're not drawing a prize card." I was like, "It has 120 HP." I was like, "Dude, yeah." Thankfully, the wall of text makes the card bad. So we're all good.
And then yeah, and I can't remember yeah, this card's just yeah, I agree, not good. And with that, we can move on to the next page of new cards.
A couple more to look at here.
Yeah, just a couple. You don't want to talk about the Tinkaton here, right? You just want to talk about
Yeah,
Tatsugiri.
Tatsugiri.
Pretty cool one. It's a dragon type basic Pokemon with 70 HP, no weakness, no resistance, one retreat. Water gun for one water does 20 damage, big
Pretty good.
damage, and then survival strategy for two colorless. Search your deck for up to two cards and put them into your hand. Then shuffle your deck. You may switch this Pokemon with one of your benched Pokemon.
Yeah. So pretty good control card. I think between this and Counter Catcher, we say this
What
a
are
lot on
you
the show. Sander gets brought up a lot, but I think Sanders like, all right, we're back.
what are you running to?
Anything. Snorlax doll.
Okay. Azul's laughing really hard at his own joke right now,
Put
by the
a
way.
put a bravery charm on the Snorlax doll. 170 Tatsugiri run. Literally like, Mimikyu, Klefki, like there's block
This card's not gonna be
Snorlax.
that good, I don't think. I think it's
All right.
fine.
All right, prove him wrong, Sander.
Yeah,
Appreciate it.
and Sander probably will. And we do have another new card. Crobat here. Stage 2 Darkness type Pokemon for two colorless. It's got free retreat, lightning weakness, fighting resistance. Its first attack does 50 damage for two colorless. It is Mad Echo. choose item cards or supporter cards during your opponent's next turn, they can't play any of that type of trainer card from their hand. It's kind of a
So
situational lock control type card.
yeah. And it is on a stage 2, so I don't think it's gonna be good, although you could add it into, like, the Crobat Raticate deck that, I was cooking the other day on stream as, like, a one of another Crobat option. But I think it's just cool. It's just a really cool effect. Like, it's a really cool attack. That's all I wanted to point out with this card is that they're putting cool things that make you stop and think about cards on more cards, I feel like, as we were progressing, in the evolution
Azul
of the
and
Pokemon
I
TCG
Azul and I were kind of together whenever this card
got leaked.
we first read this card. And I was like, dude, this effect literally exists on a card currently. And he was like, no, it doesn't. This has never existed on a card. And I'll let you guys be the judge of who was right, who was wrong.
But you admit it, but Chip did admit to being
I
wrong.
think it's a push. I think it's a push, you know. I was
No,
right about
we're
one
not going
aspect.
next.
Good luck in your next round. We'll move on. There is this Vileplume from Lost Origin that has the Allergy Storm attack, 90 damage, and it does have an effect that allows you to limit your opponent from playing supporter or item cards, but you don't get to choose like you do with Crobat. It is flip a coin. If heads, they can't play supporters. If tails, they can't play items. So I knew it existed. I knew it existed. Just a
But
little different.
considerably worse, considerably worse.
It also
And one last
costs 3
card
energy.
to take a look at. Tank decks, they might be back because we got that Defiance Vest. If you have more prize cards remaining than your opponent, more reasons to lose at the Pokemon TCG. The Pokemon this card is attached to takes 40 less damage from your opponent's attacks. Yeah, I mean, just like that's a powerful card right there. 40 less damage. I mean, we got to be losing the game, but I assume our deck is built for that. Whatever this is on,
Armor
Is it finally?
Rouge. You'll definitely be losing.
Oh, I was gonna say Heatran VMAX. Bro, Heatran VMAX is like almost good.
It has been. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, we're almost there because it's got a ton of HP,
330.
heals with its ability. It heals like
Yep.
50 with its ability.
50 with its ability.
We're losing the game. Defiance Vest, minus 40.
Counter catcher.
Counter, yeah, trap something in the active. Maybe. I
Why
don't know.
not?
But yeah, this is a cool tool card. Also, I mean, once again, with like some control deck where you're just always losing the game, or some of these, like put this on the Ursa Luna. Dude, what?
What is
Yeah,
this? I just scrolled
good
down on
card.
Poke Beach. What is this comment? Defiance Band. Pretty mid item 3. They just typed the number 3.
So just because Defiance Band was mid, Defiance Vest also has to be mid? What the heck?
Maybe they were rating
Pretty
it a
mid item.
3 out of 10.
3 out of 10. So let us know in the comment section, what do you rate
Yeah,
Defiance
what's
Vest
your
at?
rating?
Yeah. Out of 10, is it a 3 or it's a little bit higher? Let us know. Comment section down below.
Well, those are the new cards that are going to be coming out pretty soon in Paradox Rift. One more thing, I guess,
So
about
soon. I'm
the
excited.
yeah, one more thing about the potential like linked up release dates. The thing I think I enjoy the most about it.
By the way, Chip didn't want to talk about the linked up release dates. And here we go. We've already talked about him, but he's ready to go for some more because it's so
We've talked
exciting.
about it so much, man. We've talked about it
But
so
it
much.
is exciting. It is like
It is
a
exciting.
It is exciting. All right, go ahead.
But
I'll
the
let you go
thing
now.
that I
I had to
think
call you
I'm
out.
most excited for is the fact that, usually a new card gets revealed. Like, at least this is how it has operated for the past like 6 years that I've been around. I guess I've been around longer now at this point, but um, it's operated like this ever since I've been playing the game. Where a new card comes out in Japan and then we play with it 3 to 6 months later for the first time. Like, we
Okay,
don't
well,
get
not
it.
that like 2 to 3 months.
Sometimes it is 6 months, dude. Because like
When was it last 6 months?
sometimes a card comes out and it's
Oh
like some
yeah.
specialty promo card in Japan, and then it's like they have to try to figure out how to cram it into a set somewhere over here in America or put it in a promo box. Um, so yeah, I mean, yeah, I guess 2 months to 4,
Yeah,
5,
yeah, yeah.
6 months, maybe something like that. Maybe 2 months is more fair. But now the fact that like a card comes out and we only have to wait a few weeks to play with it, that's cool.
Yeah, we actually get to go through the process that they go through in Japan of coming up with the new decks. Whereas like before, they kind of did it before us, and it's not like a terrible thing, but there's more opportunity for us to play bad decks, which sounds pretty cool, right? There's more opportunity for us to like play the bad
Are you
decks and
so
discover their
excited
bad
to
on
be
our
able to play
own.
your bad decks?
Bro, I've been having so much fun with now that like Lost Box was so much less on the ladder. And Charizard was like the biggest thing on PTCG Live Ladder. Like it really shows that Lost Box is like the gatekeeper right now, to be
Yeah.
honest. Because when you go on ladder, like Lost Box and Lost Tina were definitely the two gatekeepiest decks. Because when you go on ladder and those have kind of fallen off, you can play all these like lesser decks, and you can beat
Because
just
everything
kind
has
of the
high stats and just decent damage output, right?
yeah, exactly. So it's just nice to yeah, I don't know. It's just nice. It's nice to be able to just play like bad Pokemon decks, but not go 1 in 99 or something in 100 games. Like it's just nice to be able to like win games with bad Pokemon decks. Whereas before, it's felt like it's been a while since that has been a thing. So,
All right. Well, that is going to do it for this week's episode of Uncommon Energy. Thanks so much to everyone for listening, for your support. As always, if you want to do a little extra to show your support, feel free to leave us a rating or a review or a comment, a like, whatever, depending on where you're watching, whether it be on YouTube or listening on your favorite podcasting platform. All those things go a super long way to help us out. And we really do appreciate it. We are about to get into our bonus episode here on the Patreon. I forgot to mention it at the start of the episode, but yes, every week we do a bonus episode of 30 minutes on our Patreon. If you want to listen to that, hop on over patreon.com/uncommon energy podcast. You can find, if you want to stay up to date with us, the best place to do that is over on the website formerly known as Twitter. You can find myself at Chip Ritchie, Azul at Azul_GG. And you can also find the podcast at Uncommon_Energy.
appreciate the support as always, and we'll catch y'all next week. Should be back on schedule on Tuesday. I'll definitely
Nope.
be home. All right, we'll catch y'all on Wednesday
Yep.
instead. Catch y'all on Wednesday, back to back Wednesday episodes. Have a good one. See you next week on Wednesday. Peace.